Hi, I'm Randy, and this is Dave.
We're the founders of Bombas, the most comfortable socks in the history of feet.
So comfortable, we sold and donated millions of pairs.
To sell and donate a lot of socks, we became obsessed with comfort.
We reinvented the sock from the ground up, adding comfort innovations along the way.
It worked. People tried them, loved them, told their friends about them,
helping us sell and donate millions of pairs.
Try them now at bombas.com/comfy and get 20% off your first order. That's bombas.com/comfy.
And there we go. All right, Brian Drummond, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. $5,900. Doug Shelby, Eddie Haskell, good to have you here. Leanda Watermaiden, welcome to our channel. Luscious Jules, thank you for joining us. And who else? I think we're caught up. We're caught up. Remember, the Super Chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. If you're new here, do us the favor, hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, because we are here literally 7 days a week for your listening pleasures of all things woo and supernatural. We love our woo around here. And if you're going to Vegas, April 22nd to 24th. Make sure you go to info@spacedoutradio.com. You check us on out. You tell us, hey, I'm coming. We're going to make sure you get a swag bag. Bill, WD-40 on Spreaker. Good to see you, Bill. Thank you for joining us. I'll even put that in the chat room. Penman over on Facebook. Thanks for coming on in. We're going to have a good time tonight. Olav Phillips is here. He's a good friend of this show. Absolutely love Olav. And, yeah, we're going to have a good one. 405er, nice to see you. Derek Cook, welcome back, my friend. By the way, thank you for that picture earlier. The gorgeous Helena returns after like a week off. And here we go. Horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter @Spaced Out Radio, Instagram @Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok @Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a great show tonight. It's all about UFOs, disclosure. What is the government hiding? Olav Phillips digs into that from Paranoia Magazine. And make sure you check that out, paranoiamagazine.com. Then in hour number 3, we have Swamp Dweller coming back with another spooky story. We have John here for the unbiased UFO report. Shirky Poo's News, the thought of the Dave, a jam-packed show once again. Olav Phillips is a broadcaster, author, and publisher of Paranoia Magazine. He is a man who has been looking into everything weird and strange for the last couple of decades. He's someone who is focused on everything from the secret space program to MyLabs to UFOs and everything that goes bump in the night. He's a regular on this show, comes in a few times a year to kind of break down all the news that is going on in the world, and we love him when he is here because he's always filled with different sorts of information that we do not hear from the background. He has sources all over the United States that give him information regarding the subjects that we talk about, and he's always glad to share them with us. Olav Phillips, thank you so much for joining us. And you're petting a Bigfoot and gnome statue. What is with that?
I'm sorry. I should be on the show now.
I actually want that. I'm not going to lie. I actually want that. So for our radio listeners who are listening in, Olav has a statue of a Sasquatch that is literally carrying 4 little garden gnomes around. kidnapping them, taking them into the forest where they will never be seen again.
They look like friends.
Yes, yes. Haven't you read David Paulides' Missing 411? That's how it happens right there.
Yeah, actually, I have sometimes I go up to the mountains and I stay not far from a couple of the sites that are listed at the end of the 411 Hunters documentary.
Wow.
I've heard him yell at night.
Really?
During the summer.
So
yeah, it was like in a blood curdling, like, ugh! It's really loud though. Echoes through the valleys.
You know what I always found interesting about the Sasquatch roar, yell, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
At least up here, we noticed it didn't echo. Did you get an echo down there?
Yeah, it echoes, but I don't know how to describe it. Whether it's not human, but it's not animal. It's somewhere in between. But it's a big guttural. It's like, but it's not quite that deep. It's weird. I can't explain it.
Oh, I hear. I'll tell you.
You've heard.
It's hard when you have friends who are in the chat room on the show, like my buddy Mark here. Hey, I can drill holes in your riding helmet so you have pigtails when you go side-by-side riding. Let those pigtails be free in the wind and mud. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. He's always out for my safety. It's amazing.
He is
always out for my safety.
You have really great listeners. They're advocating for Dave to be the safest guy in town. Oh, geez.
Excuse me. I had to
really?
I know. I mean, that's so bad
for radio. Hunter needs to make that helmet now because you just about smacked your head when you were sneezing.
Oh, I hear you, man. All right, I got to ask you, because we always have listeners who are new to this show and may not be familiar with your work. You are someone who has been searching for these unknown answers for a number of decades now. You have a plethora of information that you have received from researchers that we know and people on the inside who don't want to be named. How fun has this been for you, being able to learn about all of this strange phenomena that the majority of the public on this planet has no clue what is going on?
Well, I feel blessed that it's gone the way it has. I remember when I was in college back in like 96, I got an email from Bob Lazar and I was like, who's Bob? I knew who he was, but I'm like, you're not Bob Lazar. He goes, no, I'm Bob Lazar. And then he called me and it's Bob Lazar, So it's been a blessing, I think. It's definitely the path less traveled. I'd rather be interesting, than anything else. You take those personality tests and I always come out as wanting to be interesting versus, wealthy or whatever. So I think I've definitely achieved that.
Have you ever found any answers to the questions that you have, whether it's something where somebody has approached you and said, look, you got to take this to your grave, but this is what I know. Yeah. This is what's happened. Have you had that scenario happen?
Yeah, it's happened. I think the only bad part about experiencing what I've experienced is that there are some things where it's like, well, you can't talk about that. That it's, it's not safe for you or it's not safe for Sasquatch over here or whatever. But, and sometimes earlier on when I was more conspiracy driven, you get searched every time. You're always the random passenger on the airplane, which can be a bit frustrating, but yeah, I've absolutely had people tell me things that I cannot divulge for sure.
Does that frustrate you?
No, I see it as the nature of the beast that, inevitably, most things that I can say, I can talk about, but I don't think that it really frustrates me too much because it's like, what are you going to do? I can't say it. It's not safe for me. It's not safe for them. It's probably not safe for you. But what are you going to do?
Well, I mean, you know what?
I
Let's.
tell Sasquatch.
Well, I mean, let's look into it a little bit, because you have delved into some pretty serious topics, from Solar Warden to the secret space program, to UFOs, to aliens, ET cover up, which we're going to get very heavily into tonight. Other monsters that have kind of roamed this planet, ghosts, paranormal. You know, when you put it all together, what have you learned? Because it seems like, even though we're so close, we're still hundreds of miles away from any answers.
I think that I learned that the whole thing is perplexing, but I think that the other thing that I learned is that it's all linked together. You know, that's why I'm an adherent to the ultra-terrestrial hypothesis. Over time, I've come to realize that it's all interconnected. I don't know exactly why, but it is. I mean, you know, you go to places that are haunted, you know, you tend to have, you know, sightings of shadow people, or you have cryptid sightings in the same area. Sometimes, you know, you have UFOs showing up where it's like Skinwalker Ranch, or was it the Blind Frog Ranch, places like that, Hellier. You know, there you have these places where everything happens. It's not haunted or UFOs or cryptids or conspiracy. It's everything happens. So I think that it's made me more of an adherent to the ultra-terrestrial hypothesis, because, you know, it is true. It's all interlinked. It's all mixed up.
No, and I can see that and understand it. But do you feel, on a personal level, that you've gained any answers that satisfy you?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, answers come to different people in different ways, but yeah, no, I think so. I think I've found answers that work for me. You know, I mean, you know, if you like ghosts or hauntings or whatever, you know, I've seen enough evidence to make me realize that ghosts are real and that haunted locations are real. You know, that directly goes after the life after death scenario. You know, in occultism, I've spoken with the secret chiefs, as you know. I've spoken with the secret chiefs, and you know, as somebody close to me says, the Super Angel Defense Force, which I think is funny. I've seen UFOs, I've seen Bigfoot, I've seen exotic aircraft. I mean, I just chase it. I don't know what else to do. It's just my obsession.
Do you think that you're a beacon to a lot of this phenomena because you've delved so deeply into it?
I think sometimes you become that. I don't think that we necessarily start out that way, but I think inevitably, eventually, we end up that way. You know, it's kind of like somebody once told me, you know, in regards to being initiated into magic and occultism, that once you get on the train, you know, you can't get off the train. You're always on the train. Hold on a second. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
There are other people in the house.
I know you got I know you got your two boys with you, hanging on out.
He was telling me my laundry's done.
Well, that's nice. That's nice.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you're spouting off all these amazing things I've done, and I do laundry as well.
No kidding. You know, and are you a Tide with bleach kind of person? Do you use Gain? What
I like this stuff that's dye free.
Very nice. Well, you got a lot of plaid that you can't have run. So I mean,
new plaid.
Very nice. It's always.
But no,
good.
I mean, I think we eventually all become, you know, we become beacons over time because you are aligned to it. I remember, Ralph Epperson. He wrote a book called The Hidden Hand? It's about conspiracies, and you know, he said that there's this conspiratorial view of history, but it's kind of like it's like when you're watching a movie back when they actually used to use film, and in the upper corner you'd see the circle when you're supposed to change reels. Once you know where it is and you see it every time. And I think that, you know, once you see the conspiratorial history, you can't unsee it. So it's the same with the Fortean, you know, all this stuff. once you see Sasquatch, you can't unsee Sasquatch. You know it's there. So it changes your perception, and then you become more open to seeing it, and then you see it more.
I have one more question regarding this before we move into tonight's topic du jour, which will be about the other side of disclosure. And that has to do with, seeing things and being a part of the phenomena. I mean, so many conspiracy theorists out there, Olav, when they go down the rabbit hole, they fall so far that they don't believe anything that's around them. Everything's a conspiracy, from the socks their mother wears to what they're watching on television that night. And it gets a little tiresome and a little bit of ridiculous at times. And look, we're all conspiracy theorists here. I wouldn't be doing this show if I didn't have my own. You wouldn't be involved. Our listeners wouldn't be involved with listening to this show on a nightly basis. But for the people out there, how do you draw the line between conspiracy and just blatant, at times illogical phenomena that gets blamed as conspiracy?
I think, I haven't done lectures very many times at conferences. I've really only done it once, and it was a secret space conference. But, when I have been in a situation where I have to kind of speak authoritatively, the first thing that I always tell people is, you need to use Occam's razor. And Occam's razor dictates that the simplest answer is most likely the correct one. And beyond that, I really employ a lot of Occam's razor. But beyond that, you just got to think. I mean, you got to think and ask questions. And it frustrates me. A lot of these people are very intense. They're very intense, and everything's a conspiracy. And I find it incredibly annoying.
Well, what I'm saying,
I also tell people, don't believe me. Don't believe a word I say. Go search for it yourself. I'm not here to sell you a book. Go find it. Find your own truth.
Very good advice, and I will reiterate. You say that a lot on when you were on this show, and I think that's smart. Make people think for themselves, and that's always a healthy environment to set. Let's move on here, as we're going to get into the disclosure side of everything, because over the last few years, as you know, you've been following it, we've been following it, we've talked about it ad nauseum on this show regarding the word disclosure and the UFO side of things. And I'm wondering where you stand going deeper into 2022 here, with everything that you've seen happen in the last 4 years. How is your perception, or how is your ideas thought about the word disclosure?
Well, I don't know. I think you've heard what I say before. I think it's going to make me somewhat unpopular. Your listeners may turn me off now, but I think it's BS. I don't think that disclosure will ever happen. I've maintained for years. I've been through this so many times. Who's going to do what, and prophecies of, well, this guy's going to do this and this guy's going to do that. And it's just not true. It's not going to happen. I mean, I was waiting for the big UAP reveal. What was that? It was crap. I mean, I even taped the show that was on the History Channel. Everybody got super excited about. I haven't even watched the whole thing. It was kind of mind numbing, so I turned it off. But I should watch the rest of it. But I don't buy it. It's not the way the military industrial complex works. You just have to trust me on that. It's just not how they do things. They don't disclose stuff. It just doesn't work that way.
Okay, so would you say that we are more in a...
Sorry to be so definitive, but...
No, but we're going to get into this a little bit here. Would you say it's more of a confirmation than a disclosure?
Sometimes. I think that we see things that are sometimes confirmations of the phenomena, the greater phenomenon. But I think one of the problems that we have is that we really have to understand what we're seeing, right? Because when you watch all these UAP videos that are on YouTube and they show them on TV and whatever, what are you actually seeing? Are you seeing an alien ship, or are you seeing a secret project? Is it our secret project? Is it a Russian, Chinese, English, Airbus, Boeing, Lockheed, Collins Aerospace? What are you really seeing? And I think that's the thing, that the way disinformation works is that you see what you want to see and they let you see that. I can give you examples of them.
Yeah, give us an
that.
example of this.
The best, most classic example ever is the SR-71, originally called the A-12. Well, the A-12 is a different plane, but the A-12 was built by the Lockheed Skunk Works. It was bigger than the SR-71. It was silver. It wasn't black. It was silver. And they're testing it out of Groom Lake, flying it all around. And, people would see it streaking across, this silver comet streaking across the sky. They thought it was a UFO. So the government at the time and Lockheed, they said, yeah, it's a UFO. And so what happened was that a lot of these groups at the time, these skywatching groups would run out and go look for it. Because, when you're testing an aircraft, you test it along patterns. And so they would go out there and watch it. And the military industrial complex was just fine with that. Because once number one, people are thinking it's a UFO versus a spy plane. But number two, the Soviets are sending their art directorate people, Residentiura, who are, they were basically trained to be Americans. If I was a member of the art directorate, you would not be able to tell that I was a Soviet. They're just like you. They speak like you. They like what you like. They have normal houses, normal families, and a shortwave transmitter in the basement. But they went out to the skywatching groups because the Soviets assumed that.
I'm Erin, and this is my life with California Closets. I purchased a historic home that's over 150 years old. One of the biggest things old houses don't have is closet storage and organization. And in a modern life, you really need to store a lot of things. Working with California Closets was the only way to get exactly what I needed. It really makes my life better. I finally have my dream home, and I couldn't be more thrilled about it.
Schedule your free design consultation today at CaliforniaClosets.com.
15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Wait a minute. I've heard that before. That's the note Jeremy wrote to me in my yearbook in the 6th grade. How'd you even know that?
Because it's from Geico.
Yeah, wait, here it is. Dear Luke, have a great summer. P.S. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. Love, Jeremy.
Geico's had this tagline for years, because we help save people money.
So wait, you're saying Jeremy copied you? Yeah, that actually does sound like something the J-Man would do.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
It was either a test aircraft or UFO. Either way, they wanted to know. So they go out there, and then the CIA and the FBI send guys out there to watch the Soviets. And then the Soviets are watching the plane, and then we're watching the Soviets. So, it kind of worked out. But no, they actually used UFOs as a cover story for the original SR-71 program.
Well, that's a good plan. Good plan is we have about 2 minutes here to go before we go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Olav Phillips is our guest tonight. With disclosure, and you feel obviously it has the potential to be a negative impact on the society here. Do you think that the government officials who are pushing this forward are actually in the know about what is going on?
No, I don't. I think very, very few people actually are in the know of what's going on. And I think a lot of them are at Lockheed, and they're at RAND, and, they're buried in these special access programs. I don't think that a lot of our politicians know about it, presidents. It doesn't work that way. Just because you're the president doesn't mean that you have clearance. And that's a good thing, right? Because, we saw I don't want to be political, but we'll just say that we saw instances with a particular president where he would come out and say, well, yeah, we got these guys over here. And meanwhile, the military's like, no, we don't have these guys over there. You're telling them where our black sites are. He's like, yeah, we got guys out in, here and there and everywhere. And people are like, no. That's equivalent to when, the Russian mercenaries that are in the Donetsk region of the Ukraine, they're wearing they're wearing watches that are tracking them and publishing it to Twitter and Yandex, and they're taking photos and uploading them on Instagram of them, climbing around on their tanks in the Ukraine. So it's yeah. But no, I mean that's why we have secrecy. I may be a conspiracy nut, but I do believe that some things should be secret.
Olav Phillips is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. When we return from the break here at the bottom of the hour, what we're going to get into is something that you've heard me mention numerous times, but Olav is going to bring it on down. He's going to break it on down. He's going to give us the juice. And what that is the UFO Pandora's box. Does it exist? Is it all in my imagination? Or is there something to it? Is there secrets we're not supposed to know as we continue on here on Spaced Out Radio with Olav Phillips from Paranoia Magazine? You're listening to Spaced Out Radio right after this. And we're clear.
All right. But still transmitting.
Yes. You look good tonight, buddy. Look at you.
So do you. Look at that hair. Oh my
Doesn't
God.
that look nice?
Nice full hair.
Yeah. I borrowed a wig off my listener, Kira. That's how it is.
Well, This is a wig.
Sovereign Farts, you were asking about Amber from Amber's Paraworld. They got hit with a heavy snowstorm overnight, and they lost power today, and they didn't know when their power was going to go back on, so that's why we had to make the shift in guests. We're going to reschedule Amber and get her back on here very, very soon. And look at this crap. Little Marky Spender is going to have a field day with this. Mennonite Abe, thank you for the lovely super chat. No, I am not the KFC guy, even though I do like their spicy chicken burgers.
Have you tried the fire logs?
No.
You need a KFC fire log.
What is this?
It's like a fire log for your fireplace.
Uh-huh.
And you light it and it smells like Kentucky Fried Chicken.
No.
Yeah, it fills your whole house with greasy
No.
KFCs. Yeah. You've never seen this?
No.
Go Google it. Don't believe me. Everything I say is a lie.
KFC fire log.
Fire log.
Look at this.
Oh, I should go get my hat. Hold on a second.
Look at this. There is actually a KFC fire log. Son of a gun. Oh my gosh. Where has this been all my life? Can you get these in Canada? Can you get
I don't know, but I can ship you one.
KFC?
Look at that.
Hold on. Logs.
You guys have Wiener Schnitzel?
You can at Canadian Tire stores. Wow. And these logs are filled with 11 herbs and spices.
Yes, in the Colonel Secret recipe.
Holy cow.
Do you guys have Wiener Schnitzel?
Yeah. Very nice. That's a nice trucker's hat.
Did you read it?
I can't.
Did you read it?
Hold on, let me zoom in here. Why will it not let me zoom in here?
No, I'm holding it close enough. You should be able to see it.
Oh, world's most wanted wiener. Very nice. Very
That's right.
nice. All right, let's go there. Hello.
And then they have another one that has a big heart and says, "I love wieners." I heart wieners.
Very nice.
You asked me the wrong question. You should have asked me why I'm not intense, and that I don't think the world is ending like all the other conspiracy people.
I know. I have direction that I want to take, though, you know.
I know. Artistic license.
I know.
I'm fun. I'm the fun conspiracy guy.
Oh, I know. Unlike a certain lady who was trying to scare people in summer last year, saying there were 250,000 Chinese troops lined up on the Canadian border waiting to invade the United States.
Bullshit. Sounds like Red Dawn.
Yeah, right. Oh, she's such an idiot.
The problem with that kind of stuff is that, again, it's Occam's razor. You know, let's say that the Chinese send 500,000 troops that line up along the Canadian border. Which way are they lining up? Toward us or toward you? I would argue they're not going to bother with you. They're going to line up toward us.
Mm-hmm.
But how do they get there? How do you move 500,000 people?
I agree.
Right.
I agree.
On trains. That's a lot of trains. I mean, the Russians put 150,000 along the Ukrainian border, and it's taken them like 4 months.
Yeah. I agree.
You know?
I agree.
And it's incredibly obvious what they're doing. So
there's my jerk friend right there. Little Marky Spender.
The Colonel is in the house.
Mm-hmm.
We need to get you a Colonel Sanders hat.
I'd love it. Love the Colonel.
But you need to get one of those logs. They work extremely well.
Give me a sec, Olav. Hey, big thank you to Nicola, Surf Jer, and Mennonite Abe for the super chats. Kicking it off this week. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Ring that bell. Give us a thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways. Get all your swag from our website, spacedoutradio.com. Here we go. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate it. Want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot, reading Shirky Poo's Newswire, checking out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight for Paranoia Magazine. We have Olav Phillips here, and we're going to get deep into the whole disclosure aspect of everything when it comes to what we're going to see, what we're not going to see, and what will stay secret for a long, long time. And the guys from Conflict Radio Official say, hello, Olav. How you doing, man?
Tell them hello back.
Well, they can hear you. You can do it yourself.
Okay.
But
hey, Conflict Radio Official, hello. Thank you.
Olav, I have for the better part of 2 years here been telling our listeners, both on our digital side and on our terrestrial radio side, that they need to look in between the lines here when it comes to disclosure. And one of the little terms that I came up with, and it's a little Davism here, all right, is the fact that I strongly believe that there is this UFO Pandora's box that is out there that holds information from everything from whether or not Bob Lazar is telling the truth to whether or not Eisenhower did meet with aliens to whether or not we have bodies from UFO crash sites to ET content.
Jackie Gleason.
Sorry?
Did Nixon take Jackie Gleason to go look at alien bodies?
Well, I mean, these are a ton of questions out there that, we want to believe because we love this subject so much and we love a good story that goes along with it, but there's also a reality to it too. So my question to you is, is there a UFO's Pandora's box that the United States government or the intelligence agencies or the military do not want not only U.S. citizens, but the world for that matter, to know what they know?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that eons ago, John Lear, I think, did it very well with Art Bell. And Art Bell, this is how far back disclosure goes, right? That, John Lear and Art Bell are debating it when Art Bell was on Coast to Coast. And Lear said, I don't think that disclosure will ever happen. And Bell is like adamant, it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And so Lear said, well, let's have a kind of a thought puzzle. And so he says, so let's say that they're going to disclose the UFOs are real. Well, you get a lot of baggage with that. And he goes through all the different things, whether it's Jackie Gleason, as I said, hanging out with Nixon, going to look at alien bodies, or, what they did to Benowitz, that kind of drove him nuts to kill himself, or, alien abductions and, Mill Lab and just everything, covering up the crashes, killing people, making them crazy, making them disappear, and everything else. What do you think that, do you really want disclosure? And after about a half an hour of this tirade going on and on, Art Bell actually responded. He said, no, I actually don't. I don't want disclosure. I mean, we've come close a few times. There's the story of Bob Oshler, in the late 80s, early 90s, and Cosmic Journey. And, I think there's pretty good evidence that there was a kind of disclosure program that Oshler was going to be a part of. But the problem always comes back to all the really nefarious, shady stuff that they've done to keep it a secret. It's kind of like, when you talk about the CIA, our former president would speak very badly of the CIA. The CIA is actually quite good and quite effective. But do you really want to know what they're doing to get there? Or do you want to be just a good old happy American, in my case, Canadian, and yours, you have the Canadian Intelligence Service. Do you really want to know what they're doing? Or do you just want to say, well, they're keeping me safe? Because if you really know all the things that they've done, you're not going to be very happy about it. Right? So I think disclosure is kind of the same, that there's a lot of really nefarious, shady stuff that the aligned nations, NATO, the non-aligned nations, China and Russia and the Soviet Union, and, that they've done to keep it a secret. And also, there's this notion that, that if these things are real and they have crashed ones, it's also kind of a national defense thing, that if they've been able to harvest technology, do we really want our adversaries knowing, these advanced capabilities that we have? Which is the part where, some things should be secret.
Look, I think if it breaks into, advancing the technology for anybody's military, I mean, that's one thing. But when it comes to the idea that UFOs are actually out there, we are officially not alone in the universe, and they've been here and they've taken people and they've literally changed people's lives for the good or for the worse.
Right. There's
a lot of evidence out there for decades that they have been, poo-pooing on people. And go ahead.
The problem is, though, that in admitting that is actually true, you have to admit that you don't control your own airspace. And while that's okay for you because you're an experiencer, you've experienced things, you've seen things, unequivocally that these things are true. The vast, as many things have shown us, when the CIA did various, panels, and to try to figure out if they should tell how the people of the world would handle this kind of stuff. It always came back that it would cause civil unrest and chaos, because you have to tell the entire Canadian public or American public or Mexican public, Brazilian, German, whatever. You have to tell them, hey, there's stuff flying around in your skies over your head. We have no control over it. We kind of don't know what it is, sort of. We've been approached, but we're not going to really get into that. Oh, by the way, they take people up into their ships and they give them anal probes and whatever else they want to do, and we can't really do much about it. We've tried to have some treaties with them, but it didn't turn out so good, because all we care about is weaponry. It's to Joe Sixpack. That's not really very palatable, right? No. He's going to lose faith.
Out of all the stories out there that could be in the UFO Pandora's box, which ones, Olav, do you look at saying there is no way this is not true, this is not real, that this has to be hiding in that box?
What am I most concerned about, or what do I think is really real?
What you think is really real in there. We can go into concern too. That doesn't hurt either.
I'm concerned. I would be concerned about the abductions. And I think the one thing that they have done is the Collins Elite. I think the Collins Elite disturbs me the most. And it's disturbed me for nigh on a decade after Nick Redfern told me about it.
Explain to our audience what the Collins Elite is.
The Collins Elite. Hang on one second.
Sorry to stick my head in, but Dad.
Hold on a second. I got to interrupt my own interview.
That's all right. All right. We'll get to Olav. You know what? When you're a single dad, sometimes you need to, do the dad thing, and that's quite all right. We're okay. Who hasn't had to all of a sudden deal with their kids here at some wry times? That's okay, though. That's what makes this a family show of woo. Family show of woo. All right, I think Olav is back.
Yes, my kids are definitely into the woo. I've taken them plenty of wooish places. Sorry, my son wanted to move my table, and then it would have moved like the camera. I'm like, no, I'm in a radio interview. The Collins Elite, basically, it's kind of a 4chan thing. It was a group of people that were government financed. They were kind of doing 4chan stuff, but at the same time, they were trying to open portals to hell and summon demons and all kinds of stuff. But it kind of came out of 4chan explorations by the U.S. government. I think the other thing that I think is absolutely true is the Skinwalker Ranch. They poured so much money into that place, and Bigelow's so shady. I think that's going to cripple my ability to beg for money from Robert Bigelow, but like the rest of ufology. But that guy's shady. He's done some really shady stuff. So if he owned that ranch, they did shady things there. I guarantee it.
Well, let me ask you this. I'm going to throw some stories at you here.
Oh, no.
And you can tell.
Is this like the lightning round?
Yeah, we'll call it the Olav lightning round here.
Okay.
Let's start off with, and these are some that I have in the box. Let's start off with Roswell and San Augustine. I think that's a good starting point. Was that an alien craft, and did we recover alien bodies? What have your sources told you?
Well, I mean, they're all over the place. Your sources tell you conflicting information. I mean, on one hand, there are stories that they recovered German parts from the site, from Roswell. On the other hand, there's some evidence that various people saw, alien bodies. So it kind of depends. I mean, Roswell's a very confusing place.
Do you think we recovered alien bodies there?
Do I think we recovered alien bodies? I really don't know. The problem is that Roswell is so goddamn confused. I believe Jesse Marcel, that he is accurately describing what he saw. But that doesn't mean that what he saw is alien. Jesse Marcel was not trained in Cyrillic, and there are languages on the face of the earth today that are, iconographic, like Cyrillic.
To show you how easy it is to file a claim with Geico, we hired a nature show host.
In the native habitat of a suburban driveway, the poor victim of a broken windshield is left assessing his vehicle, utterly helpless.
Well, not true. If he's got Geico, he can file a claim online, over the phone, or with his handy mobile app.
But like a lone gazelle, he'll suddenly be left to fend for himself, awaiting his terrible fate.
Nope. Geico will assign him a designated claims team to help him out, too.
So the gazelle gets his car fixed and everything. Wow, nature is so cool.
Geico. Great service without all the drama.
Know what's nice? You could drive to Whataburger right now, if you wanted to. Yeah, you could hang a Louie, talk to Reggie at the counter, and get a freshly made 100% beef double meat Whataburger with melted cheese and fresh cut veggies on a 5-inch bun. It's just the delicious freedom you have living in the land where there's Whataburger. Of course, some people aren't in that land. Wonder what they're doing right now. Probably thinking about a road trip. Whataburger, just like you like it.
Or Chinese, or, he did not fight in place. I recall he fought in Europe. So, he definitely, and his son, his son was a flight surgeon in the Air Force. I think that they definitely are describing what they saw. I think it's too confused. It's like the story of the acorn, right? Kecksburg. Some people, including myself, believe that might have been a bell, and that the stuff that they saw on it was runic, because the Germans were occultists, so they might have written runic on the side of the beams inside of an aircraft, and that's what they saw. So Roswell, like many of these things, is just so damn confusing. I think it's definitely possible, but I don't know that there's a lot of evidence one way or the other.
Okay, let's go to Eisenhower. Did he meet with extraterrestrials in California while on a West Coast charities tour?
I don't think so. If he met with extraterrestrials, because that thing with Eisenhower is supposed to be the basis of Close Encounters of the Third Kind, the ending, right, where the big ship comes down and the ramp lowers and all these little people come running around. There's too many people involved. You can't keep that kind of a secret. One of the things that I like about Roswell is that it's very porous. There's a lot of people talking about it. There were a lot of people who heard stuff one way or the other. But that thing with Eisenhower, there's no evidence of it aside from where he was. There's more evidence that Richard Nixon took Jackie Gleason to Homestead Air Force Base to show him something than there is that Eisenhower saw a UFO. Okay, well, let's talk about the Gleason-Nixon trip to Florida. Right.
What happened?
What about it?
What happened there?
Well, so Jackie Gleason and Richard Nixon were buds. They were very close. And apparently, and this has been substantiated by Gleason's wife, that one day Nixon was in Florida for some reason, and he called up Jackie Gleason, who lived in Florida, and said, "Hey, we need to go somewhere." And so he came in an unmarked car and picked up Jackie Gleason, not the usual motorcade. Gleason's wife said it was just a nondescript car. And Gleason got in there and disappeared for a while. And so supposedly they went to Homestead Air Force Base, and Nixon showed him a dead alien. And the other thing that Gleason's wife substantiated was that when Jackie Gleason came back, he was changed. He was different. There was something had happened to him that was almost catastrophic. Like there was something he couldn't rationalize. But Gleason's own wife admits it, that Richard Nixon was there at the time that he was supposed to have gone. If I remember correctly, he had ditched the Secret Service detail. It's all documented.
Well, Nixon had a love affair with UFOs. He was very much into UFOs and aliens. He even built a house that replicated like a UFO.
A lot of the presidents have been. Oddly, Jimmy Carter tried to release it. Clinton tried to release it. Obama tried to release it. I mean, even Donald Trump tried to release it. George Bush tried to release it. I mean, they all try to release it. It just doesn't end up being released. All right, we're still in the lightning round. I'm talking too much.
No,
give me another one.
You're doing absolutely great. You're doing absolutely great. Okay, another one here regarding Bob Lazar.
Yes.
Did he work at Area 51?
Yes, I think he did. The thing about Bob, I believe 1,000 billion % that what he's telling you, he is accurately telling you what he knows. And I think that's something that has to be defined. A lot of times when you deal with conspiracy stuff and whatever, and Lazar will even tell you, he's telling you everything that he knows. He's telling you what he remembers. But that doesn't mean that's what happened. I think that he is very accurately telling you what he believes to be the truth. And frankly, I think probably 90% of it is true. I mean, there are some issues about element 115, right? That we finally found it. It doesn't have any of these properties. But you have to remember is that that's what they told him that it was. The little wedges that go in the reactor, that's what they told him that it was. They told him it was element 115. But maybe it was element 115 mixed with a bunch of other stuff to stabilize it. We don't know. But I met Lazar. I sat across from him at his desk, and I'm here to tell you that, everything that he said is true. And, Stanton Friedman, God rest his soul, but, he was always real down on Lazar. But it's like, okay, so you have a guy who's a low-level technician, right? How does he possess the technical ability to put a rocket engine in a CRX, a Honda CRX, or build rocket backpacks, or put rocket engines into a Ares K car, or all the other? I touched his jet car that he built around an F4 Phantom turbine engine. I'm an engineer, but I don't know how to do any of that stuff. You don't just build like a linear accelerator in your garage. You have to have some technical training to be able to do that. So I totally believe in Lazar. Okay. And I have evidence. I found evidence years ago that S4 is where he said it was.
Okay, so if he did work there, and the evidence that has been shown to much of the public states that he hadn't, whether it's his educational background allegedly being wiped out, which is an easy story.
How do you explain the W-2 from the Naval Intelligence? He has a W-2 from the Office of Naval Intelligence. He's in the phone book. I mean, I'll tell you, I used to live next door to this guy. This guy was just a sheet metal mechanic in the Army, right? He fixed Apaches, and his whole thing was sheet metal. I know it sounds really exciting, but it's a very necessary, critical job, right? And so he kept complaining that he was seeing stress fractures in the fuselages of these Apache helicopters, and he kept going to his platoon sergeant saying, "Hey, there's a problem." Eventually, he got tired of it, so he went to his commander and he said, "We're going to have a crash. These, the metal that they're using is faulty." And so they basically invited him to not re-enlist. So years later, he goes back to get his GI Bill stuff because he wants to go to college. He shows up at Fort Ord with his military ID and all his document, DD-214, all his documentation. He gets to the gate. They tell him he was never in the Army. They completely erased him from the Army, 100%. I mean, he had the cheesy photo where he's standing in front of the flag saluting and all that. He has military IDs, DD-214s, various records. He had been promoted, awards that he received. He had all the documentation. They said it was fake and that he doesn't exist.
All for complaining about metal.
Yeah, about a crack in an airframe. You think they couldn't delete Bob Lazar? The places where he said he went to school, MIT, Caltech, these guys are driven by defense contracts, DARPA contracts, DOD contracts, Homeland Security contracts, NASA contracts. If they said delete it, they would. If the military-industrial complex comes to Caltech and says, hey, you, delete this guy, they're going to do it because they have so much money riding on it, right?
Okay.
See what I mean?
I'm still on the record as saying I believe Bob Lazar worked there. Mm-hmm. I really am.
Absolutely.
But this goes towards our UFO Pandora's box. Okay, take something like Shag Harbor.
Well, if what he said is true, it presents a huge problem for humanity. Because one of the things, this is the problem with Lazar, is that if you believe Lazar, which I do, nobody ever, they watch some crappy documentary about him that's like totally staged, but they don't know what he really talks about. Like if you really want to know about Bob Lazar, you got to go watch excerpts of the government Bible, or you got to talk to the man. He's a very nice guy. I really enjoyed talking to him. He's a genuinely nice human being. But one of the things that he said he saw was that when they were briefing him, he got the briefing documents for the program, special access program. They showed him a video of Jesus being crucified. Let that sink in for a minute. They showed him a video of Jesus being crucified that was recorded by aliens.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if you're going to go all the way with Lazar, you have to remember that this is part of the story. And they didn't talk about that in the big Jeremy Kenyon documentary. It was more about poor Bob being chased around because he's been harassed since '89. I mean, Dennis Mariani was shooting at him. I mean, I saw the hole in the back of the Corvette.
Wow. On that note, we're through hour one. We got Olav Phillips in hour two. This is why I love it when Olav is on the air with us. He always leaves me speechless. Spaced Out Radio's hour two continues with Olav Phillips from Paranoia Magazine next. All right, we're clear. Hi, Terry Hall.
Everybody forgets that part of the story. They really do.
I think people, when it comes to the Lazar, get fixated on the education, fixated on after he left and got a job where he was busted with the brothel. I think they get fixated. I think they get fixated on both of those.
Do you know what he was doing the day that I met him? I went to Desert Blast, the party in the desert.
Yeah.
The most insane party I've ever seen in my life. I was trying to explain it to the girlfriend the other night, and she was just like, where the fuck were you? But when I got to Lazar's house and I knocked on his door and he comes to the door, he's all off, he was running shockwave propagation models on a mini mainframe that was sitting behind his desk. He was doing shit that Stanton Friedman doesn't know how to do. And Stanton Friedman was one of his largest detractors. A Canuck by marriage, but Stanton Friedman couldn't have done some of the stuff he was doing on that DEC Alpha. It was a mini mainframe. Does that sound like somebody who works at a photomat? I don't think so.
Oh, I hear you.
You put a rocket engine in a Lincoln Continental. Who does that? I watched a guy with a rocket backpack that he built, not wearing a shirt, by the way, riding through the desert on a mountain bike, and he built a rocket engine backpack. And the guy's just like riding through the desert.
Give me 2 seconds here, buddy.
No problem. I'll be right back.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. I'm just quickly having to do something here. Desktop. All right, sorry. All right, who do we got here? Any guest requests you can send to bookings or info at spacedoutradio.com. And hi, Excaliburful. And the subject you would like us to discuss, Nosferatu, no offense, we probably won't do it due to the algorithms that we broadcast on a certain platform that you are watching us on right now. And that's not really our subject matter. Not that I don't agree with you. Okay? Not that I don't agree with you. But there are certain topics I got to be careful with. Sure.
By the way,
yes.
When you're doing that lightning round, you should ask me about Ben Rich.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really good one for your lightning round.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I'm so controversial, Dave. I try not to be.
Let me just say hello to Excaliburful. And who else has showed up late here? That's about it. Baconator Henry. Oh, hey, Clam.
Hey, Clam.
Yeah, the good old Clam. We got just over a minute. Want to remind people, if you'll check this on out. All right, here we go. Olav Phillips may even make an appearance here. All right, Las Vegas, April 22nd to 24th. Go to info at spacedoutradio.com. The first 50 people that confirm that they are coming to this email, put your size in there as well. All right, we're going to make sure you get a swag bag. April 22nd to 21st. But you have to be, in order to email in, you have to be 100% confirmed that you are going. So it's not one of these things where, yeah, I'm going to get a T-shirt, and then like come to Vegas and you know show. Kevin,
you didn't tell me about this, Dave?
I'm telling you right now. It's confirmed now. Wham Bam Ham, how are you?
Let's talk later.
Oh, yeah, you're going to be there.
Yeah.
Sweet Tony D from the UK. There might be pie in the swag bag just for you, Tom. Banana cream.
Do I need to bring a pie?
For Tom, yeah, you have to.
If he goes, I'll make a banana cream pie.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Second hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. YOG. YOG is your password. Like yogging. Yep, Desert Clam sets password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot, reading up on Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with Olav Phillips from Paranoia Magazine. What is in the UFO Pandora's box? And of course, right before the break, you kind of stunned us a little bit that Bob Lazar had allegedly been shown a video of the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. What is this all about?
Well, he claims, I mean, I have to say he claims. I'm a huge Bob Lazar fan. I think he's a great guy and telling the truth for the most part. He claims that when he was read into the program, right, that he was given certain briefing documents. I believe he was shown a video of Jesus being crucified. It could have been a photo, but I'm pretty sure it was a video that was supposedly shot by the aliens that were supplying the vehicles, the Sportster model and the others.
I don't know how I would react to seeing that. I would probably think it's fake.
Well, he's at the time he said that he thought, okay, all right, I'm watching this, okay. You know, he is the first person to tell you that he doesn't know if it's true or not. But he said he did see it. But again, you know, this is where Kenyan, you know me, I tell you the truth. I don't care if anybody buys a book or not. But I think Kenyan, when he made the documentary, I think that he should have discussed more about Lazar's experiences versus, you know, just being chased around and faking having, you know, phone calls on the toilet and stuff. I think, you know, it should have gone more into, and I enjoyed it somewhat, but I think the excerpts from the Government Bible, the one that Lazar and Gene Huff made back in the day. Actually, you know what? The next time we go to break, I have the Bob Lazar movie screenplay from Gene Huff. I'm going to go look because it should be in there.
All right, let's.
Enterprise isn't just one of the world's largest transportation providers. We're a committed team, helping you get to what matters most: your family, your livelihood, and your next adventure. Getting you there begins with our employees, who are motivated to make a difference for you every day. Around the world and around the corner, in neighborhoods like yours. Connecting you to all the places you love. That's Enterprise.
Continue on with our Pandora's box here. Lockheed Skunk Works former head Ben Rich, who passed away about, almost 30 years ago now. But he had a couple of very interesting lines where he said, we have the technology to get ET home again. And basically, we were 80 years ahead, Lockheed Skunk Works, that is, 80 years ahead from what the public sees in the sky today.
Caltech alumni dinner, the former head, somewhat controversial, former head of MUFON, Jan Harzan, has confirmed that he was there and heard him. And he said, not only do I have the technology to take ET home, but I have the contract. I mean, that, you know, he said it. I mean, you know, he's, on one hand, he's saying we have this advanced technology that they don't really want to get into. But by saying I have the technology to take ET home, he's saying there's an ET to take home, right? And that means that there's just a tremendous amount of special access money and programs in the Lockheed vault. See, I would argue to you that a lot of the stuff that people really want to know is locked in a vault at Lockheed. That is because by having Lockheed take care of the UFO stuff, and I'm not going to call it a UAP, that's a load of crap. It's a UFO. When having Lockheed take care of the UFO materials, right? You're taking it out of the hands of the government, and you're taking it out of being FOIAble. That if they hand it off to Lockheed and say, okay, here's a UFO, guys, now the U.S. government no longer knows what Lockheed's doing with it, and you can't send a Freedom of Information Act request to a private entity, which is Lockheed. They'll simply tell you they don't have anything, get lost. So one of the reasons that they shift a lot of the stuff into special access programs was to disconnect it from the government so that, frankly, the government can't do disclosure because at this point they probably don't know. It's all at Lockheed.
Okay, let's move on to another topic here.
I like that one.
I like that one too, but we got a bunch to go to because this also ties in to Ben Rich and other aerospace companies where a lot of people believe the TR-3B is a human-made type of spacecraft.
Yeah, I've seen them.
I've seen two. Totally different.
I've seen several.
Are they human?
I think so. I think they're DARPA. I've known engineers that worked for DARPA, and getting them to tell you how far ahead they are is hard. But the number I routinely hear is 100 to 200 years in advance of technology that we have. I don't think they're alien. I think they're human. Because, they use technologies, some of which we know about, like an aerospike engine. And I was looking at the chat. To answer Moonlicht, when the U.S. Space Force started, I think it started in the 50s. To answer that question. But yeah, the TR-3B is real, but I think that there is a manned version and a piloted version and a non-piloted version. But they definitely human.
Do you think that is alien technology?
No. It's too conventional. It's too conventional in design. If you have, Paula Violette wrote a book about how the space shuttles were anti-gravity vehicles. And, if the space shuttles were anti-gravity vehicles, they wouldn't have cratered, they wouldn't have burned up on re-entry from losing a tile. They would have just lowered themselves down, right? I think a lot of these objects that we see, we try to argue that the B-1 or the B-2 bomber has electrogravitic capability. I don't think it does. But I think the TR-3B might, but it's definitely human. I think that if you were dealing with something that came from alien technology, our understanding of the technology would be so rudimentary that, we would have to literally replicate it. And that's what Lazar talked about with the Sportster and the other vehicles that he saw in that hangar, that they were literally rebuilding them part for part, right? Or they were taking an alien vehicle and welding a human-sized chair into it because the chairs were very low. So I don't think the TR-3B is alien because it's too conventional. You should see something far more radical if it was alien, I would think.
Do we have crash retrievals of alien
Absolutely.
craft?
Absolutely. So I can't get into the detail of it, but I heard a story once from a guy, and the way that it was told to me was very nonchalant, but he basically was part of a special operations unit, and they were somewhere, and they received a call over the radio to go pick up some people. And when they picked up those people, they couldn't really ascertain who these people were. They just kind of picked them up in the desert somewhere. And he finally kind of got the guts of it. He's like, who are you people? Because they were very conventional special operations. He's like, who are you people? And the guy responded, we're Moondust. We're a Moondust unit. And the thing you have to remember about Moondust units is that these are the retrieval teams, is that Moondust collects extraterrestrial objects of all kinds. They collect satellites that crash from their Russian, Chinese satellites that crash, German, Italian, French too. But they collect satellites that crash. In fact, there's a very famous case where they had a Cosmos satellite that went down in central Canada, and a Moondust team snuck across the border, went and took it and brought it back without the Canadians knowing. But no, I do think that if there are UFOs, if they're real, which I believe they are electromechanical devices and they crash. And when they crash, you have a specialized team that would go pick it up. So I do believe that all those things are true.
Do you think the TikTok is human-made? Tic Tac, pardon me.
I think that the TikTok is not human at all. No. The Tic Tac I think is human, but TikTok is definitely not.
Okay, let's go to the Tic Tac here for a minute. Why do you think it's human-made?
Because I think it was a test. It's too convenient that it just magically appears in front of 3 destroyers. And those destroyers are calling a Carnival cruise liner going, hey guys, are you seeing this crap that we're seeing? It flew into a very populated area. In another case, it was seen by the Nimitz, which is not an aircraft carrier. It's an aircraft carrier battle group. There's submarines and destroyers and tenders and, it's not one ship. The Nimitz is a ship, but there's probably a dozen ships around them, if not more. So, it's showing up, and I think that it was a test by us to see how our own troops would react to it. I think it's a drone.
Even if it can go from 80,000 feet down to sea level in less than 1 second?
Yeah. Why do you think that we couldn't build something that could do that?
Just seems hard to fathom.
It's about inertia. It's about G-forces. It's about controlling those. Look, I want to go back to Ben Rich. Ben Rich said, not only do I have the technology to take ET home, I have the contract. What does that mean? The closest star is light years away. If he could take ET home, and it's 5 light years away, that's 5 years at light speed. It's even worse because of time dilation. The closer you get to light speed, the more messed up time is to you, right? And, theoretically, we can't go past light speed. So, 5 years in either direction, if the closer you get to light speed, the more time dilation takes effect. So these poor guys go to take ET home and they think it's a 10-year round trip, but in reality it's like 100 years because of time dilation. That doesn't really seem like functional. Feasible, yes. Functional, no. If Ben Rich is saying he's got the contract to take ET home, he's got a wormhole, or, Lazard discussed this concept of like folding space, and maybe it's that. And, there's a lot of options, but no, I don't think going from 80,000 feet to sea level in 1 second or 2 seconds is beyond the pale. We're talking about, technologies that are hundreds of years in advance of the jumbo jet that you're flying to Hawaii on. That's old school to them. And it is, frankly. Remember, the jumbo jet you flew to Hawaii on is probably 20 to 30 years old. Right?
Very true.
Upgrade.
Very, very true on that point. I mean, I think we'll agree to disagree on the Tic Tac. I think that is alien made, but you know what?
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you another reason why. There's a very little known event that took place along the eastern frontier of Russia. And there were a bunch of Russians out there doing radio intercepts, which are quasi illegal in Russia. And so they were listening to a MiG-29. This happened a couple of years ago. They were listening to a MiG-29 flying along the eastern frontier, and it radioed back to the control, to the comrade colonel who was in charge. And they were tracking some sort of object flying at super high speed across the eastern frontier. So they send this poor guy out in a MiG-29 or Su-27 or whatever, one of them. I think it was a MiG-29. He goes out to find this thing, and he can see it optically, but he's having trouble tracking it on radar. It's going in and out, right? And so they order this guy, you have to follow it no matter what. Okay, so he gets into that thing. The object climbs up to max ceiling, right? He climbs up to max ceiling. He's got the throttle all the way ahead. He's above Mach 1. He's approaching Mach 2. The plane's vibrating. He's super high altitude, right? And whatever that object was, I guess it got tired of dealing with him because they said that it just shot off. But when it shot off toward NATO. Now, the last time I checked, the aliens don't care if you're in the Warsaw Pact or you're in NATO. They don't care if you're a Russian or, a German or French or Spanish, or they really don't care. So if that object that he was chasing at full power on a MiG-29 at full power approaching Mach 2, and he couldn't catch it, he was losing traction in this thing, why would it fly toward a NATO-aligned country? I think it flew, I forget where it flew, but it flew toward a specifically NATO-aligned country. Why would it do that?
Why not?
This thing looked kind of like the Tic Tac, but it was very small.
But
it was the size of an aircraft.
But if you go back 50, 60 years, there were Tic Tacs seen back then. We didn't.
Sure, Lonnie Zamora's Tic Tac land in New Mexico, and aliens got out. The Japanese had a in feudal Japan. There's a story of a silver Tic Tac dropping out of the sky and landing on a beach. And the people were, I forget when it was, but the people were interacting with it. But it was feudal Japan. It was actually before Westerners came to Japan. So no, I mean, it goes back centuries, but the Tic Tac you saw, I don't think is it.
All right.
Number one, it was a hell of a lot bigger. The Tic Tacs that are alien, they're very small. They're like the size of a car. This thing that they saw was much, much larger.
Okay. Let's move on.
Okay.
Let's go to another one.
And I do believe in aliens, by the way.
Well, that kind of leads to my next one of our UFO Pandora's box. There are many people who believe that the government has a list of people who are having major ET contact. And this may explain some of the 65,000 Americans a year who cannot be accounted for as vanishing.
Mm-hmm. And this is Pauline's work. And, if anybody ever read my book, I make an argument on where some of those people are going. But no matter how you cut it, if you take Paulides map, Paulides, or I always forget, if you take his map of disappearances where he has the little clusters, if you overlay that on top of the map that this guy Tall made in the 90s, where saucer bases are, the disappearance clusters are almost exactly on top of where Tall said that there were major saucer bases. But yeah, of course the government wouldn't want to talk about that. I mean, if it's real, again, you're having to admit to your people that you can't control the airspace. You can't stop people from getting, Mutual of Omaha Wild Kingdom style lifted into a spaceship and be, probed. You can't. Joe Sixpack would get very upset.
Do you believe?
Do
you believe then, though, that the government of the United States may have a list of people who are being taken?
If it's happening, which it appears to be, if it's happening, I have no doubt in my mind that the government is tracking it. This also comes in a Mill Lab, right? That there are some people that their abduction, when they get past the screen memories, their abductions are actually being executed by people in fatigues. There's helicopters and black cars and all kinds of stuff. But I think in some cases, those mill lab abductions are after alien abductions. So they get abducted by aliens, right? And then later they're abducted by people in fatigues. So the people in fatigues are probably testing them to see what the aliens did. But no, I think if abductions are real, which they appear to be, Roger Lear did some very interesting work with the implants. I mean, you're watching the implant, like you're actually watching the video. You're watching the implant running away from where the scalpel is. I don't know how you fake that. But no, I would say that if it's happening, they definitely have a list. They have a list for everything else. It's metadata. That's the one thing you have to understand, Dave, is it's all metadata. Every person on the face of the earth is sitting in a computer database somewhere. And so they have different metadata assigned to them. In this case, I have an association with Spaced Out Radio. So somewhere in my metadata, it says Spaced Out Radio, yes. So I'm 100% certain that it's tracked.
So do you think then that mill labs are the ones who are putting the implants in people?
No, I think, well, I don't know that we know, but I think definitely aliens are doing some of it. I always try to describe it to people like this old episode of Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom I saw, where Marlon Perkins is up in this huge helicopter with a tranquilizer rifle. It was back in the old days when they would actually film him shooting a buffalo with a tranquilizer rifle. And he's got this rifle and he shoots the buffalo, and buffalo just goes nose down. And then it's assaulted by vets and biologists. They come out of everywhere in like trucks. They run up on this poor tranquilized buffalo. It's unconscious. And they're swabbing its butt. They're poking it. They're taking blood samples. They're trying to get material out of the stomach. They're swabbing the mouth. And the last thing that they do before they release it is they took a tag and put it on its ear. And that tag was a radio transponder. So I kind of equate it to, what they did to that buffalo. That's kind of, to me, what an abduction scenario sounds like. Or the Colbert Report, Stephen Colbert paid for this sea turtle. They put a radio transponder on the top of the sea turtle. Well, the sea turtle had to be abducted in order for that to happen, because they basically, glued the transmitter onto the top of its shell. Same concept. So yeah, and they track it. So if they're tracking it, they know where you are. But yeah, I do think they have lists, and I do think that the aliens are putting some implants are alien, some aren't.
All right, Olav, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. We have Olav Phillips from Paranoia Magazine for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio. UFO Pandora's Box. What secrets are hiding in there? Does it even exist? Could be, because, look, we know we're never going to get the full story from the U.S. government. But it sure is fun to speculate, isn't it? We continue on with Olav Phillips. Finish up hour number 2 on Spaced Out Radio when we return from this break. Stay tuned. All right, we're clear.
Okay. Hope that was all right.
That was good.
Good. I just want everybody to be entertained.
You're doing great.
So are you, Dave. It's the hair.
Oh, dude. You're just way too kind. I'll lend you some if you want.
Please, I got a bald spot on my head.
I got some.
All right, I need it.
Yes. Let me go over the whole Vegas thing once again. April 22nd and 24th, we are having a get-together with our listeners in Las Vegas, Nevada. Make sure you put that in your phone, Olav. And night number 1, we are going to get together and we're going to party at the Stratosphere. Night number 2 is going to change a little bit because it looks like we are going to be doing a live show with Lynn Wallington from the Golden Nugget.
So 22nd to 24th, you said?
Yes. We're going to bring in some friends. and we're going to do a live show and panel with Lynn and all of you. Then after that, we'll go party on the old strip. Night number 3, for those of you who do not fly home on the Sunday but are staying till the Monday, we are going to get together at Treasure Island at a big barbecue shack there, pig out, and then go have some fun. We got a schedule lined up for you all, and we're going to hang on out. It's a weekend of woo. Weekend of woo. If the only thing that we are charging for this thing, and I'm going to give out, I am going to give out swag bags to the first 50 people who 100% are going and confirmed. We're at about 20 right now, by the way. Okay, I just need your size, and once we get that done, I'm going to give you a swag bag. But the only thing that we are charging for in Vegas is we are going to be charging for the live show. That's it. It's like $25. That's it.
Can you text me what hotel you guys are staying at?
I haven't even picked my hotel yet.
Can you text me when you do?
Probably Golden Nugget.
In Vegas?
Yeah.
Is that even on the Strip?
It's on the old Strip. It's on the old Strip.
Oh, that's by Fremont Street. Yeah.
Fremont Street. Right?
It's cheaper down there.
Of course it has to be on a weekend, Eugene.
The Cosmopolitan is where I would have it.
Yeah, I can't really afford that. I love the Cosmopolitan, though. So, yeah.
Yeah, they have vending machines with art. It's really super cool.
So we are going to have a great weekend. All of you are invited to come. If you can't make it, that's okay. Radiohead, how are you? April 22nd, 24th. And
I don't know. Should I go, Dave?
You should come.
I'll think about it.
I've stayed at the Gold Nugget once since they did their $300 million retro. It was fantastic. And the pool, if you've never seen the pool, it has a water slide that when you slide down it, you actually go through a shark tank.
Oh, wow.
It's pretty incredible. So that is that weekend. We're going to have a blast.
Yeah, let me find out what's going on.
Yeah. I think we got about 20 people. So go to info@spacedoutradio.com if you're 100% confirmed that you are coming. I want to make sure I got swag bags for everybody. I'm going to start making those up here pretty soon. Going to have some cool stuff. We'd love to see you there, Josh. I think gorgeous Gloria and her mother are coming. Oli Tabuger, how are you, bud? Excuse me. Lynn Wallington will be there. Dirty Filth will be there. UFO Garage, Ben and Joe are going to be there. Lots. All right, everyone. Here we go. Thank you to Nicola, Surf Jer, Abe, and Thomas for the super chats. Here we go. We pass the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Appreciate you all tuning us on in. Want to remind you that if you miss portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight. Paranoia Magazine's Olav Phillips is here. The UFO Pandora's Box. What secrets do they not want coming on out? They being the U.S. government, as they try to control the narrative of what we see going on in the UFO world. Got a jam-packed final half hour with Olav Phillips here. Olav, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
What about aliens like Skinny Bob? Real? Fake? Are there aliens walking amongst areas of bases like Area 51 or Wright-Patterson?
Well, once again, I think that comes down to your own belief system. If we're doing deals with them, then they would be there, right? If we actually are signing up and doing exchanges with them and whatever, then they would be present at bases. I don't know if they are or not. It's hard to say because in a lot of these cases, a lot of the best UFO cases, they're accidental. There's one that actually happened not far from my house back in the 50s. It was one of the ones that Jalen Hynek said was unexplainable. And these boys, they were trying to go, kind of hang out and drink a few beers underage at this pump site, not far away. And a UFO landed in the middle of a field and an alien robot chased them for like a couple of miles. And, that means that, the alien robot is here, but it doesn't seem like they have a deal with the U.S. government. It seems like they're like, oh, there's 3 people out in the middle of nowhere. It was very rural at the time. Let's land and mess with them. But yeah, I mean, if it depends, right? If we're doing these deals like we say we are, that goes back to the Eisenhower question. Yeah, I would imagine they would be here.
Do you?
I mean, Valiant Thor. We know Valiant Thor was here because he actually signed into the Pentagon.
Well, that was a loud beep. Okay.
Yeah,
so
I got a text.
Valiant Thor was actually on my list for this because that's another one of those subjects that we have to broach regarding the UFO Pandora's Box.
And Commander Dawn with 2 N's because it's space age. I think Valiant Thor was a German, or at least an ancestor of the Germans. I don't think Valiant Thor was an alien. That's one of the really nasty things about the contactee time back in the 40s and the 50s. A lot of these guys were implicated in fascist groups like Adamski and some of the others. They were actually associated with known fascists and Nazis. So, plus I always ask people, if I'm an alien, right, why would I name my child Brave God of Thunder? That makes no sense. I would name him something in my indigenous language, but to call him Valiant Thor or, Commander Dawn, I mean, it's Dawn with 2 N's because it's the 50s and it's, they put wings on all the cars and in a space age. I find it a little dubious, but Valiant Thor did exist. And Dr.
Frank Stranges?
Yeah, Stranges did take him to the Pentagon. It's actually, he signed in and it's known that he actually did enter the Pentagon building. So, we can argue about where he came from, but he definitely went there.
Okay. What about Luis Elizondo?
He's a spook. I wouldn't trust him. I wouldn't trust anybody that's in that whole operation. It's like a spook factory. That's why I have a lot of heartburn that they're the ones leading the UAP movement, because To the Stars Academy, I mean, it's like a who's who. It's like a who's who of guys that work for the CIA. I mean, they all work for this. It's in their bios right on the website. I would not trust them. I think there's a larger agenda that they're pushing. that's part of the reason that I don't think the Tic Tac is alien, because they said it was.
So why do you think that this is a team that people studying ufology shouldn't trust?
Because they come from the CIA. I mean, it's that simple. You have guys that Hal Puthoff, he ran SRI, Stanford Research Institute. SRI was one of the primary labs for MK Ultra. You want to trust that guy? I mean, Hal Puthoff was there when they were running mind control experiments of dubious ethics and morality. I don't know that I would trust a bunch of guys that work for the CIA. I'm not saying that CIA field officers and stuff are dishonest people, but the fact that there's a concentration. I mean, John Alexander was on it for a while. These guys that they've collected, they're all from spooky places. And it's like, if you're going to bring together a team and they all have, intelligence backgrounds like the CIA, right? You have to ask yourself what's going on. I mean, if one of them or two of them, sure. I mean, I worked in a place once where they hired the sales guy, and he worked for what was it? Was it USAID? It's a corporation that aids third world countries, but it's a well-known, CIA front. And so he worked there, but it doesn't automatically mean he was a CIA field officer. But these guys, if you go look at the bios, it's very clear. And Tom DeLonge, if you go look at the investor prospectus, I mean, it's pretty much just an operation to line his pockets. He's charging them a fee for putting his name on it. It's his project, and he's charging the corporation for licensing fees for the use of his likeness. He's effectively charging himself. It's absurd.
Okay.
And I'm sad that Lavinda was involved with them. I like Lavinda.
Well, there's a lot of keynote scientists that left that group, but I'll be honest.
Elizondo was a defense contractor. I mean, he's the very crux of the problem with the special access programs. Go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted.
No, that's fine and dandy. We have differing opinions on Elizondo, which is okay. Sure. All right. I agree I agree with you that once a spook, always a spook. Once you, in my opinion, and this is just mine, once you start dropping words like patriot, that's when you know that they're deep in.
But Dave, do you have a Canadian maple leaf tattooed on your body?
Yes.
Of course you do. You're Canadian. Go ahead.
Of course I do.
Are you a patriot?
I'll bite my tongue on that one right now. But the idea that I'm getting... There
are other words. There are other words that they throw around, and it makes it very obvious. I get where you were going.
Okay, but the point that I'm getting at with Elizondo is, from what I've heard from my sources, he has been very, very loved by 50% for bringing the attention to this subject. He is also hated by 50%, and we've seen them try to do to Elizondo what we have seen them do, if you believe the Bob Lazar story, which is erase his identity. We've seen that. It's happened.
Sure.
The erasing of his emails.
But you have to ask yourself, are they really? See, that's the fundamental problem with the whole disclosure thing. And when there is any disclosure, can you trust the source? Now, Elizondo may very well have his emails deleted, and he may be going, my God, what are you people doing to me? Right? But who's doing it, and what is truly their motivation? I saw this thing on YouTube once, right, where they would take somebody having a normal conversation, and then they would just bleep it randomly. And so they're having a perfectly reasonable, normal conversation, but you're hearing this bleep, 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 and it comes across as like they're cussing like sailors. Just because Alessandro's emails are deleted doesn't mean that he did anything nefarious. It means that he's being set up. But set up by who, for what reason? And is he aware of it?
Oh, he's aware.
No. Aware of the bigger plan. So back in the 70s, the CIA created a company in Switzerland. And that company built cryptologic devices, basically like secure telephones and telexes and firewalls and all that kind of stuff. And they sold them on the open market. And they targeted all these police forces like the gendarmerie, the gendarmes, the Guardia Civil, Interpol. They sold them all this hardware, right? And then for a long time, until they realized that this Swiss company was actually a CIA company, the CIA was calling into Interpol and adding people to the Interpol database. So one day they decide, well, we're running an operation. We need John L. Smith to be a worldwide terrorist. So they would dial into their system and hack it and go insert a record that John L. Smith is a terrorist. Then once the program was over, they go back and delete it. How do you know why the information is being deleted? What information is being deleted? And is Elizondo complicit in its deletion? That's the problem. He may or may not be involved. But you see, they made the whole thing muddy because they set up a situation where the entire lot of them, minus Tom DeLonge, who's in a mediocre band, the rest of them are all spooks. So if I'm looking at a Rolodex of spooks, I'm going to think, what? These guys are spooky. And so what they're doing is probably has an ulterior motive other than to fleece money from people, which I do think that there is some fleecing of money. But Elizondo, he may very well be just an honest to God victim. He comes across as being a very nice guy. I'd love to talk to him, but you can't. It's like everything else. It's nebulous, right?
Okay. Let's continue on. Is the United States government in contact with extraterrestrials?
I don't know. I don't know that there's enough proof one way or the other. I think it's definitely a possibility. But again, going to the dark side of disclosure, if they are, what are they talking about? And how did the extraterrestrial choose to talk to us versus the Russians versus the Chinese? Or the Europeans, for that matter. That again plays into your Pandora's box, because all these questions you ask me, I may or may not agree with you. But what I would suggest to you is that if you think there's even a remote possibility that any of these things are true, it represents a massive problem to actually being upfront and saying, okay. I mean, think about it, right? That they come out one day and say, well, UFOs are real. And yeah, Eisenhower met with aliens. Think about the implications of that.
Mm-hmm. It's heavy.
Super heavy. Super, super heavy. And I'm not talking about the day after Roswell crap where they say that they invented transistors and fiber optics and stuff. I mean, this is, if Eisenhower, if there's any possibility that Eisenhower met with aliens, they had a mass landing, that is, the implications of that are severe. But again, that's why they would cover it up. See, what they're doing to Elizondo, just like what they did to Lazar, just like what they did to Benowitz, just like what they did to a whole bunch of people, the Cash Lindstrom incident, they try to tell them that the radiation sickness that they were suffering and the burns on their bodies, it just happened because the sun was out and they should have used, sunscreen. In these moments, these things that they do muddy the water. So you can't get a straight answer. It's impossible It just isn't possible to get a straight answer.
What does your gut tell you?
My gut tells me that there are aliens here. I think that 10% of the sightings we have are alien. I don't think they're talking to the U.S. government. Well, maybe they are, but nothing. I think they're talking to everybody, if they're talking to anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they don't want to get involved with our politics. I think we can't stop them.
Go ahead.
I think we can't stop them. I think we lack the technology to make them do anything. I think they do whatever they want.
My big thing is this, and my most convincing feature that I've thought about regarding this, and this is just my opinion, is why now? There is no need for the U.S. government to be talking UFOs over the last 4 years the way they have.
Oh, yes, there is.
No, there isn't.
Yes, there is.
We'll disagree.
Yes, there is.
You tell me your answer.
Don't look at the UFOs. Look at what else is going on. The talking about UAPs, changing it from UFO to UAP, Tom DeLonge, the secret space program, the To the Stars Academy, Luis Elizondo, the whole rest of them, it's distraction. There's a guy, he has a dinner theater near my house, and it's a magic dinner theater. And it turns out I used to buy magic tricks from this guy when I was a kid, 30 years ago, and he's up there on stage and he's got the rings and he's doing the crazy stuff with the rings. And you're like, oh my God, how is he making those rings work? Like, how does that work? It's all angles. I signed up for his YouTube thing where he shows you how he does it. It's so simple, like what he's actually doing. It's like a close-up magician. Don't look at his hands. Look at the other stuff because he's directing you where he wants you to look. They want you to look at UAPs. They want you to look at To the Stars. They want you to look at Luis Elizondo. So go look at what's happening in the rest of the world. Did you know that in the Ukraine, twice a day, we fly EC-135 surveillance planes through the entire Black Sea, over Crimea into the Ukraine, back along the border with Belarus, back to England or to Greece? We do that twice a day because
keeping your tech teams on top of the latest developments is a monumental challenge. That's why over 60% of Fortune 100 companies count on the O'Reilly Learning Platform. See for yourself what O'Reilly can do for your teams. Visit O'Reilly.com for a demo.
New video game, a phone, maybe a bike.
Give your kids a gift they'll love, the gift of learning. Give them OutSchool. OutSchool offers live, affordable, online, interactive classes for all kids pre-K through high school. With a wide variety of subjects from video game design and movie animation to private instrument lessons and zookeeping, OutSchool has something fun and inspiring for every kid. Right now, you can save $15 on your child's first class at outschool.com/give and use code GIVE.
Russians are massing troops in the eastern part of the Ukraine because they want to attack it, because they need something to do, right? Don't look at the UAPs, look at around it, because the UAPs are a distraction. Maybe the Tic Tac is alien, maybe not, but I'm telling you 100% that the whole UAP thing, the press conference, the report, which was that report was meaningless. There was more meat in the Roswell case closed report. It was a total sham. But what were they doing while that was happening?
Good point. My idea behind the why now. My idea behind the why now is this: number one, false flag event, or number two, we have had contact and the ETs have said when we're going to be here.
I think it's probably number one. I mean, you take the Ukraine, right? The Ukrainian intelligence, American intelligence, and British intelligence have all reported that the Russians have inserted people into the contested region of the eastern Ukraine to stage a false flag to justify Putin invading the eastern Ukraine. And that's really bad because natural gas flows through the Ukraine into the terminals of Western Europe. No Ukraine, no natural gas. Putin can choke them. But, it's it could be a false flag, it could be a lot of things. But you're on the right track. That what it's not is UFOs. The UFOs are a distraction for something else. There's something else going on. The amount of aircraft activity is insane. Every day there's at least a dozen KC-135 tankers running out over the ocean. There's tons and tons and tons of P-8s and anti-submarine warfare aircraft flying along the coast constantly, all the way up into Canada. It's not just us. The Canadians are flying transports all over Canada, much more than normal. It's something's going on, but I think that the UAP thing is a distraction. And, good disinformation has the golden thread that somewhere in this whole thing, there's truth. There's a thread of truth that goes through the center of it. And the thread of truth, I suspect, is that UFOs are real. But everything else that's wrapped around the thread is bullshit. I'm sorry, BS.
Almost made it.
Oh. But almost. But, I think you're on the right track by saying that it could be a false flag. I think that what we need to do collectively is say, okay, well, the UAP thing is the UAP thing. Let's go look and see what else is going on. There's an increase in the amount of triangular aircraft being seen, for example, right? There's more UFOs being seen now than ever before, right? They're doing something. The amount of weird activity, Janet flights no longer going to Area 51, but they're flying out to Mojave. They're testing something down in Mojave. Janet flights going from EG&G out to Mojave in California. They're testing predators down there right now. There's all kinds of stuff going on, but we need to look behind the veil. We need to see what's really what they don't want us to see. And I think the UAPs are a distraction.
90 seconds left with you tonight, my friend.
Okay.
It's been a fast show, an awesome show. And
I hope so.
This is why I love it when you're on. You always make me think, dude. You always make me think. Olav,
I just hope the listeners enjoyed it.
Oh, of course they do. Of course they do. Even though you just cost me, an edit there on the show.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. I'm teasing. 2022, where can people find your information, your books, and everything? We got 1 minute.
You can find us on Amazon. Just put in Paranoia Magazine or put in my name. I'm on Facebook sometimes. You can add me there. I'm on Instagram, Paranoia Mags. I'm there much more. I'm starting to mess around with Twitter. You can find me at paranoiamagazine.com, which I update randomly. You can find me at the Celestial Lodge of Sirius.com, the Hermetic Assembly of Light.org. There's lots of places to find me. Instagram and Twitter are probably the best.
Right on, buddy. It's always a pleasure to have you here on the show. Always a pleasure. And I know we will do it again and a few times this year as well. And your information is always one that makes me think in the opposite direction. I love you for it. I really do.
Well, I enjoy talking to you. And it's an honor to have me on. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. It's very much an honor. Coming up next on Spaced Out Radio, we're going to head into the swamp. Swamp Dweller has an alien story to tell us. The fedora-wearing John Hudson has the unbiased UFO report. Of course, in the back half, we have Shirky Poo's news. We have the thought of the Dave, a jam-packed hour 3 of Spaced Out Radio coming up next on the mighty SOR. Stay tuned. Great show, buddy.
Hey, you too. It's always a lot of fun, and thanks again for having me on. It's a privilege and a pleasure.
Anytime, brother. I always appreciate you coming on in.
Yeah. Anytime. Just let me know.
Groovy. I do want to see you in Vegas, though.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Good.
I'll make it work.
Good.
I'll be there.
Love it. I look forward
All right,
to it.
I'll talk to you later.
We'll put you on stage that night with us on Saturday.
Okay. I guess I better get a new pair of shorts.
You better get a new plaid shirt.
I will. I'll get one just for you.
Beautiful. All right, bud. See you soon.
All right.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye-bye. Olav Phillips, everyone. God, I love that guy. He is awesome. Whether you agree or disagree with his opinion, the one thing that I love about him is he allows for proper conversation and discussion on it. That's what we need more of. We really do need more of that, especially in this field. This field needs more love. More love. Hold on. That's what we need. That's how we do it. That's how we do it. What do you guys think? Fill me in. Let me know. I am curious. Very, very curious. Then again, I always am. We love Dave. Oh, goodness. I better get Shirky Poo's news up here. Hold on. What's this one? Nope. That's a funny one. Oh, that's an interesting one. Shirky Poo. Great news. That seems interesting. That one seems good. Ah, that one's funny. Sad but funny. Idiots. All right, there we go. Now we're set up. We're ready. We are ready. Aussie Rob, how's them ham hocks? In a second, I should be getting a picture of his ham hocks on my Skype. Oh, wonderful, Josh. Thank you. Thank you. Love Preston and Sev. I actually get to meet Sev Talk at MUFON Symposium in July. I'm very much looking forward to meeting her. Magnus for Magnuson. Nice to see you. Once again, I will be at UFOCon 2022 in San Francisco next month. I'll let you guys choose. I have two topics I may speak on. One is why now, or number two, why experiencers have been pushed to the side. Whatever one you guys want, that's what I'll speak on. And numero two, Vegas. Who's coming? Who's coming to Vegas? who's coming? Let's see. So far we have 3 votes for Why Now, 1 vote for Experiencers. We got 30 seconds. And there's Aussie Rob's Ham Hocks right there. Need to moisturize, buddy. You need to moisturize. Hi, Mike Roberts. How you doing?
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. YOG. YOG is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. It is that time once again in the night where we leave our studios and we head into the swamp, where our resident friend and creepypasta storyteller, Swamp Dweller, joins us for another creepy tale from his YouTube channel, Swamp Dweller.
Hi, Spaced Out Radio listeners. This is Swamp Dweller. It's time for your nightly dose of spookiness on the show. If you have an interesting encounter or a spooky story that you would like to share, be sure to submit them in at swampdweller.net. You can also find our YouTube channel at youtube.com/swampdwellerreads. Now, let's chill out, relax, and together, let's enter the swamp.
Hey Swamp Dweller, I'm a huge fan of your channel, and I wanted to share my story of when I was abducted at the young age of 7. I would be grateful if you could share it with your listeners to spread awareness, and of course, to give people the creeps. To introduce myself, I'm now a 32-year-old woman who resides in a town called Port Talbot in South Wales, United Kingdom. I want to share a personal story today of when I was abducted. It's a story of strength, determination, and sheer braveness. Every day, I tell myself how lucky I am because of the story you're about to hear. Cardiff, South Wales, in the United Kingdom. I was 7 years old. The year was 1995. A crisp, dry spring morning. A Saturday in which I ventured into my next-door neighbor's house, where my childhood best friend resided. The front door was always slightly ajar in those days, as the neighborhood was what we like to consider as safe. Everyone knew each other. I got the attention of my friend, who we'll call H. We left the house, and we began to play outside the house on the pavement, skipping with a rope and dancing around. A short while later, a tall red-haired woman appeared. We knew her. Her name is Caroline. She was H's mom's friend, an intimidating built of a woman, wearing black knee-high boots, red fishnet tights, a red leather skirt, and a black top and jacket, and plenty of makeup. In fact, too much makeup. Her hair was loud and frizzy shoulder length. She has this habit of making a deep short cough noise every couple of minutes, as if she had a cold or something. I remember she had a cigarette in her mouth. She was a lady whom I would describe these days as big, as both myself and H know Caroline, so we kindly greeted her as she approached the front garden, where we were playing. Being the cute kids we were, we got excited to see her. We yelled her name with excitement, and she just stopped and said, "H, where's your mom?" She replied, "In the house. Do you want me to go get her?" "Oh, no, it's okay. I'm just wondering is all. She asked if you could come with me to my place as she wanted a bit of quiet time." "Oh, okay, I guess." We began to follow Caroline. We dropped our skipping rope and headed on our way. A few yards along the road, Caroline put her hands out as if for us to hold it, to which we did. A woman walking with a 5- and 7-year-old kid along the street, the children smiling and happy. No one would have known that we were in potential danger. Little did we know what was about to happen. I remember walking to the end of the street and beginning to panic. I wasn't allowed to leave the long terrace street in which I resided. My dad had told me that if I left, I would be punished and grounded. But then I remembered that actually it's okay. Caroline is a friend of H's mom, so we won't get into trouble. Caroline lit a cigarette as we continued to walk. I remember walking for what felt like an eternity. Myself and H were just skipping while in the hands of Caroline, none the wiser and carefree. I remember seeing a small park where I asked Caroline, "Are we allowed to play in the park?" "No," she shouted. "Oh, okay then," I mumbled. I remember the shudder of her hand while it was holding mine, and her loud outburst of no scared me a little, but I knew that no meant no, so I cared no more. At this point, H just looked at me with a small, confused smile. What felt like an hour later, we arrived at the property of Caroline, a small block of flats, ground floor, front door to the right. At this point, I'm kind of excited. I never really got to go to places unless it was my grandma or my auntie's house, so I was inquisitive. We got inside and the door closed behind us. Caroline immediately bolted the door and crossed the chain. I didn't think too much of it at this point, as I guessed she was trying to look after us. We went into the flat. It was an open plan, a kitchen to the right, and a large open space living room to the left, very spacious. I vividly remember her vertical pink blinds in the windows. They were all in the closed position. Myself and H were just kind of wondering what to do. Caroline didn't turn the TV on, and she began to act a bit strange. She was pacing across the living room, not too fast, but enough to recognize. H and I were just doing what little girls do. We were clapping our hands and singing songs and giggling, the average stuff. Being that H was younger than me, I felt a small responsibility for her, but I wasn't too educated myself. Caroline was peeping out her blinds at the living room side. The window here faced the main street. She was peering and looking around constantly. I picked up this behavior quite quickly, but I didn't ask her what she was doing. In hindsight, I know she was waiting for someone, looking for their arrival. Caroline paced again, and at this point, I was starting to get a bit worried. I asked if we could watch the TV, and she again shouted and said, "No." I got quite upset here. I didn't understand why we weren't allowed to watch television, or why she would shout at us. I mean, she said she was looking after us, so why not? Now, I was quite a moody child, so I got quite upset over this. H was really none the wiser. A few minutes later, Caroline went back to the front window, poking her head out as if to look for someone. At this point, I'd asked her, "Are you looking for someone?" "Yes, I am. They're late." I didn't think much of it at this point. It just justified her behavior in my mind. Her behavior repeated like this for a few minutes, It got to the point where I asked if I could go home as I was hungry and I was tired. Caroline shouted, "You're not going home." I replied, "What? Yes, I am. You said you..."
Hey, Ray Magliozzi here. I'd like to carry more parts at my shop, but I just don't have the room. Every time I go in the back to get wiper blades, I trip over a dusty crate of Honda air filters, then bang my head on some GTO radiator hoses. eBay Motors never has that problem. They stock all the right parts at the right prices. 122 million of them, with everything from new headlights to vintage gear shifters. I can't imagine being able to stock 122 million parts. I mean, where would I get all those shelves? eBay Motors. Let's ride.
Streaming on Peacock. It's the girls' trip of a lifetime.
Look at this water! We're gonna give them something to talk about.
7 iconic housewives from 4 different cities.
Oh my God, this thing right!
Vacation at Turks and Caicos.
It's a party now!
And there's no party like a housewives party.
I don't give a f***. You're not a girl's girl. Why would you say that?
Find out what happens when the forecast brings sunshine and a whole lot of shade.
You are so self-absorbed. It's crazy.
The Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip. All episodes streaming now. Only on Peacock.
We're just minding us. She told me to be quiet and to just sit down. She then began to light another cigarette. She was angry, and I didn't like it. I guess you could say my instincts kicked in, but at the age of 7, I'm not sure if this was a skill that someone could develop. I started to panic, and H looked deflated and upset. By this time, it must have been at least 2 hours, although it felt like weeks. I went to approach the front door, but Caroline halted over toward me. She said, "What do you think you're doing?" "Well, we want to go home now." "You're not going anywhere. You're staying here with me." I began to cry. I was really upset at this point, and of course, I was frightened. I got H and we sat on the sofa, but I was still petrified. I wanted my mom. I didn't know what to do. Caroline was still looking through the window as if to expect someone to appear. I was too upset to do anything. So with all my might, I stood up, barged over to her kitchen, and pulled open a drawer. Caroline was still looking through the window. I grabbed a knife. It was a simple butter knife. I was trembling with fear at this point. I grabbed H and approached the front door, and Caroline made her way over. "What are you doing?" she yelled. "We're leaving. You let us go now." She replied, "Don't be so ridiculous," and she tried to snatch the knife. I told her, "If you don't let us go, I will attack you." She laughed. With that, I charged towards her, and she screamed. H was sobbing and screaming, and I yelled too. "Let us go! Somebody help!" We were hoping that we would be heard. We continued to scream while the knife was facing Caroline. She panicked and told us to shut up and calm down. She then turned her back and walked towards the window. With that, I managed to stand on the tips of my toes and unlock the bolt, and grabbed H. We legged it as fast as we could. I didn't know the way home. I just guessed. It was the fastest I'd ever run in my life, even to this day. I was sobbing, tears running down my eyes, face burning, hands trembling with fear, and poor H was being strung along by my hand. I dashed the knife somewhere while running, and I remember we saw the park, and I knew we were heading in the right direction. We continued to run as fast as we could, and we eventually found our street. By this point, we were out of breath. I made sure H got into her house, and I told her to lock the door. I then entered my home. My mom was still asleep. I didn't care. I was home. To this day, I genuinely believe both myself and H were going to be sold to unknown predators, or taken, or perhaps we were going to be used for human trafficking, or for sex slaves. Who knows? I'm just glad that I found the strength to get away. I don't remember seeing Caroline again after that. I remember telling my mom the story when she woke up, and of course she didn't believe me. That still hurts me, even to this day, as I know it would have been a different story if I was gone forever. A few months after the incident, we moved to another area, and although it went to the back of my mind, I'll never forget that I was abducted. never underestimate those closest to you when you have children.
Oh, my goodness. That is freaky. I think that is every parent's nightmare right there. Thank goodness they got away. All right, let's cheer things up a little bit here because it is that time, once again, where we bring in the fedora-wearing John Hudson for the unbiased UFO report. Yeah, John Hudson with the unbiased UFO report, and Space Out Radio's After Hours comes on in, give us all the latest news on what is happening with UFOs in the world. And John, it's always a pleasure to have you here. How you doing, buddy?
Actually, Dave, I'm going to leave. I'm going to go hang out with my daughter after that story. I just, I don't know if I can do the news.
Right.
that was harsh, man. I actually missed the beginning, but I can go back and listen to that.
You know, my daughter turned 23 today.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very cool.
Called her up. I said, what do you want Dad to get you? And she's like, I don't know, Dad. I don't know.
Yeah, what do you want? I mean, like, God, like what?
So,
yeah, anyway.
I figured 23. I got her a manicure and a pedicure. Send her some money.
Oh.
Told her to go book herself for a nice couple of hours at the spa.
Yeah,
get a manicure and pedicure on Dad. And then with the money left over, go for a nice dinner and drink and go enjoy yourself. So,
dude, that was. I mean, keep in mind we're two guys making these determinations, but my personal opinion is that was an excellent solution.
Well, it works, and that's what works for me. And my baby girl at
23, wow, man.
12:59 this afternoon turned 23, and it's just like yesterday. I remember every moment of that day, man. Every moment of that day. Best day of my life. Next to my son being born. Best day of my life.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Happy birthday, little girl. Well, she's not so little. Not so little. Today her hair is like half purple, half green. So that's kind of...
Is it really?
Yeah, it's really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Oh, that is cool. That is really cool.
I love it.
Huh.
All right.
That's neat.
UFO report, man. We're going straight into Luis Elizondo.
Yeah, and what's funny is that when I was gathering all these stories, like some of this actually came from Bryce Zeibel's portion of his interview with George Knapp, which was also very good. And it was kind of funny because what I found was that even the stuff I was pulling from Bryce's interview was still all about Elizondo. So it essentially just ended up being a big Elizondo show as far as the notes were concerned. Hi, Maui, yes. But some very, very interesting things are breaking. So essentially, the first one is that on the Sunday, January 6th Coast to Coast AM show with George Knapp, when Luis Elizondo interviewed him, he actually, and I don't have the exact quote right here, I apologize for Maui, but basically what he said was something to the lines of, and I've had two different people both agree that this is what he was alluding to, that we have essentially attempted to take out a UFO, that we've attempted to, in one of these areas where we have repeated incursions and repeated contact, that and there's no indication as to whether we've succeeded. Elizondo was specifically asked if we have succeeded. He said no. He did say that he is aware of times where we failed, and essentially, okay, look, I mean, anytime you're talking about recovery, you have to assume that some recoveries are not always going to be done off the ground. That you could end up baiting a target, and somehow we certainly do that in nature. However, I think, at least for me anyway, this is the first time I've had it called out so plainly that this organization has unilaterally decided to, go out and go, here, kitty, 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 to the aliens, and didn't consult us first.
I could just imagine what they tried to use to bring down UFOs. I mean, because let's face it, a Phoenix missile or a Sidewinder is just not going to do it.
Oh, I guarantee you, Dave, that none of the attempts made involved physical objects. It was all field related. It was all just fields, my friend. But yeah, no, and that's the problem is it like, I mean, okay, so let's go on the assumption that some of what is being seen are individuals from other dimensions or other places in the universe, and let's assume that the variation in craft that we see are an indication of the sources of those craft. There really is craft coming from that many different places. If that's true, and I don't know if it is or not, but I'm just saying if that's true, then that would indicate that every single one of those vehicles would have a completely different set of vulnerabilities. You might have two that are vulnerable to electromagnetic attacks, and the rest of them aren't. Right? It might be that one species was sensible to electromagnetic attack until they lost two ships at that dumb planet Earth, and now they shield from it. Right? I mean, who knows? Right? I mean, we have no idea how this plays out. But to me, it's very just kind of shocking that I don't know. To me, like if anyone's going to go up to an alien and go, here, kitty, kitty, I don't know. It just seems like, more people should be voting on that one.
It makes me wonder what the U.S. military and all of these companies like Lockheed have learned over the years from these craft. Because if they are thinking of building technology to potentially shoot one of these down, John, this is something where that technology is going to be so highly advanced, like things we've never seen before. Some sort of laser beam or something like that.
I totally agree. And sorry for interrupting. What I was going to say is that one of the most important aspects of the entire defense apparatus of the United States is ELINT. It is the ability to gather electronic surveillance from other craft to determine how they function. It's something we are very good at. And I guarantee you that as much as can be gleaned, I sure has. Elizondo has alluded in several conversations to some very, at one point he basically says that there is a very simple and cheap way to actually locate them in the atmosphere that we will all be shocked when we discover what it is. I mean, that's a hell of a thing to say, right? I mean, I'm kind of paraphrasing him, but
we got about 90 seconds here before we have to move on here and take a break at the bottom of the hour. We have John Hudson here with the Unbiased UFO Report. John, in regards to Elizondo's former manager, this name came out.
Yes, and I debated back and forth as to whether I wanted to say the name or not, and I think in light of how Lou Elizondo reacted to George Knapp, I'm not going to, and you're welcome to, and everyone, please, I encourage you to go listen to the actual interview where you will hear it. It's a good interview, but
give it to us. I mean, give it to us.
No, I know. I didn't look up what the name is. I actually don't know what it is because the way Elizondo reacted.
Hold on. Why would you put it into the report then?
Well, because it's an important data point, but I want to let people discover it for themselves, and to me, like outing that individual, if George Knapp wants to do that, that's his business. But you should have seen how Elizondo reacted to it when Knapp dropped his name.
Well, I mean, now that it's out, we should have it.
Basically, his response was, "My mom told me that I shouldn't say anything about people unless it's something nice. So I'm not going to say anything."
Well, that's fine and dandy, but
that's literally how he responded, right?
If the name is out, dude, that's our job.
Okay. I apologize. And to me, like I come from a military family. I always defer to that, and I was just trying to respect Elizondo's, candor and his position, and leave it to Knapp to report it. And so I do apologize. Next time I'll get the name, but I actually intentionally didn't get the name because I didn't want to slip it out.
Hold on, John. The unbiased UFO report with the holding back John Hudson here on Spaced Out Radio. It continues right after this, so stay tuned. The final half hour is next. We're clear.
That's funny. And what's funny is I actually intentionally didn't figure out didn't learn what it was or didn't write it down because I didn't want to say it like by accident. So I figured if I'm going to not say it, I got to not say it. So it's better if I don't know it.
It's our duty now to say that name.
Just okay. All right. If you say so. Just because one person said it.
If it was saying
he's still active.
You would put on there allegedly.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Hi, Amy Vegas. Go ahead, John.
No, I was going to say that the other interesting thing that I wasn't planning on going into, but I'll just touch briefly here is that there's a lot of setup that Knapp does for this section, and if you were to really try to string the whole conversation together, and if you were to believe that those two are friends and they might, casually orchestrate the flow of a conversation, Knapp essentially makes a bunch of very speculative statements about that this is also the person that has been directing much of the negative actions toward Elizondo. And basically, lays some very strongly worded, but still inferred, language that seemed to indicate that this individual is the problem. Is the reason why Elizondo resigned.
I understand that, and I can appreciate
and is still active in the Pentagon and still active within this organization. And so still has the ability to influence things. It's messy. But you're right, news is news.
Excuse me. Oh, yeah. I'd have named him. It's out. I'd have named him. Thurston Howell III. Big J. What's happening?
So I just want to go on the record as saying that I think your guest. Oh, I think he's Illuminati. I just saying.
He's too lumberjack to be Illuminati.
He's clearly Illuminati.
He's a big man. He's a big
that
man.
That guy is selling so much. It's disturbing.
Says the guy who buys everything from the government. We've got about 2 minutes here, buddy.
Oh, good deal.
I had a great dinner tonight, and I'm still hungry.
Huh. Oh, you know what? Excaliporful was kind enough to pull it up into the chat. The gentleman's name is Gary Reed. So
thank you, Excaliporful. Very close to Harry Reid.
Yes.
Very nice. Thank you.
I figured now that we know who he is, we should all get together and send him like one of those like nice fruit baskets.
No, 1 minute. You know what I never knew YouTube had that I'm getting addicted to real quick? Is they have live feeds that run 24 hours a day from the deserts of Africa, where you get where they put it by the cameras by watering holes, so you get to see all the animals. It's pretty damn good, man.
It is. It is. I haven't gone into any of those yet. I keep meaning to, but yeah, that's supposed to be some spectacular stuff.
Oh, dude.
And the camera quality is so good that it's. I mean, it's you don't get the smell and the feel, but I mean, you're really getting almost better visuals than you would get if you were there.
Yeah. Hold on, buddy. Here we go. Rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Really do appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you've missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. For the final time tonight, we have our big man here, John Hudson, and the Unbiased UFO Report. And during the break, we got the name of the spy. Yes, of Luis Elizondo's boss, a gentleman named Gary Reed, who allegedly still works at the Pentagon, who allegedly was potentially Lou Elizondo's boss.
Yes, and it should be said that it is George Knapp that, or at least George Knapp and his team, that did the footwork to discover who this gentleman was. And it was him basically saying to Elizondo, I know you won't say his name.
Keeping your tech teams on top of the latest developments is a monumental challenge. Helping them get answers to the urgent problems they face daily is even harder. That's why over 60% of Fortune 100 companies count on the O'Reilly Learning Platform. At O'Reilly, your teams will get live online courses, tons of resources, truly interactive scenarios and sandboxes, and fast answers to their most pressing questions. See for yourself what O'Reilly can do for your teams. Visit O'Reilly.com for a demo.
When you're craving the delicious Whataburger Buffalo Ranch Chicken Strip Sandwich, time moves more slowly, like in this commercial. Because waiting for 3 crunchy chicken strips for 9 seconds feels more like an hour. Imagining melty cheese for 8 seconds seems like a fortnight. And picturing tangy buffalo sauce and creamy ranch for 13 seconds is like an eon. That's a long 30 seconds. But this sandwich is so worth it. The limited-time Whataburger Buffalo Ranch Chicken Strip Sandwich is back. Just like you like it.
I believe I found him. Is this the gentleman? And then Elizondo responding how he did, that essentially the whole thing came out. So it's an interesting exchange to listen to.
Wow. All right, let's move on, John. We got a lot more topics to announce, but we're sticking with Lou Elizondo because he literally has been silent over the last couple of months here. He has a new documentary that he's working on. What's this all about?
Yeah, so this came out. This one really caught me off guard. I mean, I look, I take that back. I know of several different projects that Elizondo has been tied to at different levels at different times over the last couple of years. So it's not to say that he doesn't ever get involved in it. I don't mean to say that whatsoever. But the way he phrased it, to me anyway, indicated some ownership. the way he phrased it to me indicated that he felt at least that he had some ownership over this one. That this one was that he was putting some of himself into this one, and you could tell that there was a lot of pride in this one. And he was very kind of almost boastful about this one, indicating that he believed that at least to date this will be the most complete and the most thorough documentary on the topic that seen to date. I would argue that he showed more passion about the documentary than he did his book.
Do you think he feels that he may have some make-up time to do after, what was considered a flop and Unidentified?
No, I don't think. I really don't think. I don't think Elizondo thinks that way. I don't think he thinks in those terms. I think he looks in terms of the best outcome that he can possibly achieve in each situation. And if he achieved the best situation he could, then that's all he could do, and he moves on. I don't know. I don't know. Oh man, yeah, I don't know, but I was very surprised over his passion for this documentary, and unfortunately, he never said when he was coming out, but he seemed to indicate that there was. And the one thing I'm confused about, and what we're going to get into next, is that he is now talking about some specialized information coming out in his book, which I'm a little surprised by, and I expected his publisher to say that. I didn't expect him to say that. And he kind of alludes to that with this documentary as well. And so then it becomes this question of, okay, are we looking at a joint a press package sort of situation where they're doing a documentary that's going to come out along with, the book, or are these completely two separate projects that just both happen to obviously deal with the same topic, and so they're going to have a lot of kind of crosstalk from a Venn diagram point of view? That wasn't clear to me, unfortunately. But the one thing he did say that I thought was interesting to your earlier point of how he's been kind of out of pocket for the last couple of weeks. It's because the silly man is writing the book himself by hand, and it takes time and it's hard. And so that's what he's doing, and that's essentially why he hasn't been around. Is he's working very, very hard on his book right now. So he's actively writing it as we speak, and he definitely alluded to the fact that he understands that it's a dance he has to do where he is going to, present and ask for this much information, knowing that some percentage is going to be taken out, and therefore that 20% left over that he really cares about is what actually gets left in the book. Like he kind of alluded to the fact that was the kind of process that he was going to be able to finagle, and that surprised me. I mean, it really did. I mean, like I said, I expect the publisher to kind of to sell the book in that fashion, but I didn't expect Elizondo to do it himself, and he really did. He you could tell, like I think there was two really interesting things that came out. One is that he is taking the book very personally, and two is that and once again, maybe I'm reading too much into his tone, but the way I read his tone is that he's not sure what it's going to be like in the end either yet. Like he's still not sure what it's going to look like, which is kind of cool. Like I like that he's still he's still unsure of what the final product is going to be while writing it. I think that's a good place to be for a writer. So I came out of the whole thing far more interested in that book than I've ever been to this point.
I wonder in his book if he's going to come out as an experiencer. I think that is the biggest note that we could take from this. Because I do believe he's an experiencer. I have no proof on that.
But Dave, let me ask you a question then. Like seriously, do you really think Like I know it's hard, like from the point of view of experiencers not feeling represented and not having good representation and so forth. But if you can remove your own personal desire to have that kind of representation, do you really think it's I don't know. I don't know if this is a good thing or not. I don't know.
Well, I mean, we're going to have to see. I mean, he may come out as one. Look,
Yeah,
tell all autobiographies usually give you some information where you're like, whoa, I never expected that. There is always something out there.
But we've already seen with the Skinwalker book that when Elizondo's remote viewing escapades came out, that people started throwing mud and started using them to strip away his credibility. And if he read a lot into that, then I don't know. I mean, like, here's the thing: if Elizondo himself personally wants to come out about his experience, and I personally do believe he has had some experiences himself. I agree with you. If he wants to come out and talk, Mr. Elizondo, I support you wholeheartedly, but I don't know if it's actually going to help him. Like, I don't know if it's actually going to help his credibility. My concern is that it's going to hurt him.
Yeah, but whose credibility is it going to hurt? The 14 people on UFO Twitter that absolutely despise him? You know, I mean,
I worry that it's going to hurt his credibility with normal people.
I don't think so. I think there's a better chance of, and let me explain. I think there is a better chance of him gaining more respect from coming out, unbiased, I'm just going from an overall picture here, than it would be if the government came out and said, we got aliens. I think that is the progression and the start of phase 3. As we know, there are phases to this. We've been told that all along. Phase 1 was acknowledgement. Phase 2 was admittance that UAP are real and not Russia or China. Phase 3 is contact. And if you have Elizondo come out saying that he's had contact, it's a massive story. Massive story.
It is a massive story, but when you consider how many non-experiencers and non-educated in this topic people there are in the world that need to start developing some cognizance of this issue and some trust in the people that are giving the message, my concern would be that essentially, I mean, we even saw this with Jimmy Carter, right? To me, I don't know. I really look forward to the day this isn't so. But to me, we still live in a time where sharing your personal experiences is a great thing to do if you personally value it and you personally get something out of it. But from the outside world, it's not going to play out in your favor.
Well, you know that, and I know that, John. All right? But it may be the chance that he's willing to take. And maybe his advisors have told him that he is going to be the guy for ET contact.
And if that's the case, that's awesome. That is awesome. I would love to see that.
Right? And that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
No, I agree. Yeah. No, I agree. And actually, and Dave, you just touched on something that I wanted to touch on, and that is that the other elephant in the room is that we can't assume that Elizondo is doing anything now on his own, right? Danny Sheehan has at least a advisory nod or voice in any significant, public actions that Elizondo takes is my assumption, right? And so, I wouldn't be at all surprised if we don't see Danny Sheehan nudging Lou to go further out on the ledge than perhaps he was planning on, and then being able to say to him, "And I can provide you cover for that." Like, to me, those two of them together could get into a lot of trouble together in a good way.
Well, I think there's a lot more security there with Daniel Sheehan. I really do.
Yeah, for sure. But it's still so much of it is black box to us, right? And that's the hard part. That's the really, really challenging part.
Absolutely, John. And is there any update on when his book may be coming out?
No, actually, he didn't allude to that. I think he said that he hoped it could be the end of this year. But he's writing it now, and so I think it's honestly, thinking back, I don't think he indicated I was listening for it. I don't think he did. I might be wrong, but I think he did make some kind of generalization about the fact that he hoped to have it ready for Christmas, sort of a thing.
Well, that is going to be one book I know we all will have to get. We all will have to get that.
Yeah, I think we'll have to turn it to a screenplay and we'll act it out in the theater stage. Ooh, interpretive dance. That'd be awesome.
All right, John, it's always a pleasure to have you on here.
Thank you all for listening and hanging out. Appreciate it.
And we will talk to you in just a couple of nights' time here as we're going to move on over to Shirky Poo's news. The news is always changing. That's why Shirky Poo has us up to date. We're going to start off with a little bit of art here. For centuries, Rome has been an art lover's paradise, drawing tourists, historians, and all manner of cultural connoisseurs. But almost none of them have ever laid eyes on a majestic site just steps away from the central Via Veneto. It is a sprawling 16th century villa filled with masterpieces from antiquity to the Renaissance. The property and its vast holdings are now at the center of an inheritance battle between a Texas-born princess and her stepsons. And on Tuesday, it all goes up for auction. The listing on the court website includes a video with an incongruous musical background that highlights the 6-level monumental property and its breathtaking views of Rome. Starting price, by the way, $534 million, with bidding rises in increments of more than $1 million. Until 20 years ago, Villa Aurora was virtually inaccessible. Chest-high weeds prevented what would be visiting scholars from even getting through the high entrance gate. Now it's an easy walk with a twisting gravel path, lush green gardens, and a place that you or I will never be. It's gorgeous, though. All right. A deer put Michael Jordan to shame after it was filmed leaping to an insane height while crossing a road in India. The jaw-dropping video of the gravity-defying feat boasted over 85,000 views on Twitter, and the gold medal for long and high jump goes to, of course, this deer. Bad humor once again. Gotta love that when it happens. In the exhilarating slow motion, a spotted deer can be seen emerging from the river and jumping effortlessly across a dirt path. During the incredible soaring leap, the ungulate glides through the air at approximately the height of a person, as if suspended by wires in a Hong Kong kung fu flick. Yeah, say that fast 3 times. The clip concludes with Bambi sailing into the bushes on the other side of the path and running off while bystanders kind of stand in awe. All right. Out of this world, literally, a black diamond will go to the highest bidder at Sotheby's. The record-breaking 555.55 carat gemstone, dubbed the Enigma, was ranked among the largest and toughest diamonds in the world, and it's thought to have dropped here millions of years ago from outer space. According to expert gemologists, black diamonds, like this one, are also carbonados and are formed out of a meteoric impact to Earth, forged out of the blast or deriving from the asteroid itself. The 1 billion-year-old diamond is expected to fetch at least $6.8 million when it hits the online block, where it'll then be up for bidding from February 3rd to February 9th. And, hey, if you got that much in Bitcoin, you can pay with cryptocurrency. Yeah. How cool is that? Man, that's gorgeous. Have something 1 billion years old. All right. 2 men who tried to smuggle cocaine into Britain in cans disguised as baked beans and condensed coconut milk have been sentenced to a total of 15 years in prison. Yeah, bad boys Daniel Kelly and Steve Gillooly drew the sentences at Snaresbrook Crown Court following their trials. Kelly was arrested January 2020 while imprisoned on another charge. Yeah, he's a slice. Gillooly was arrested 2 months later. Each were charged with evading Britain's prohibition on the importation of a Class A drug into the country in connection with the scheme. Kelly was sentenced to more than 6 years after pleading guilty, while Gillooly drew more than 8 years imprisonment after being found guilty as well. Thought of the Dave happens every night at this time where we ask a question. You give us the answers, and we're going to get right to it. Let's go here. Today's Thought of the Dave. What is something unique you do that makes you, you? Thin Lizzy likes to be her, and I can speak, or I can make my ears squeak. That's what a lot of people remember me from school when we have reconnected later in life. Terry. I have conversations with my guitars and talk to them like they're old friends, which they really are. They each have their own souls, and they speak to me as well, just in a different language. The language of notes and chords and holy sound. Unless it's a guy trying to speak their language really sucks, then, well, that would be me. Kimberly, I'm a pet stylist and I paint pet portraits. John, the fedora-wearing one, my ability to lie and deceive. See, I'm actually a small purple alien. Shh. Tony, I love Reiki, EMT, and astral travel. Lala, when I'm very happy, I make a little sound almost like a humming, but I don't know I'm doing it. I was told it's a happy tick. Magnus, I'm a poet and a painter. It's 2 hobbies I'm good at that I enjoy without taking too seriously. Josh, if I told you, Facebook would probably ban me. Mark, I'm one hell of a good shot. Isn't that right? Oh, and I like to torment the hell out of Dave in chat rooms. Thanks, little Marky Spender. Kenneth, I love to garden, read, and take walks while my body allows. Nikki, I've always been an advocate, even when I was a kid. Thomas, I chase Sasquatch. They don't chase me. Bigfoot Rob, I have the innate ability to sum up a person's character or intentions in less than 5 minutes of talking to them. It has never failed me. Jose, making popping noises with my 3 toes on my left foot. Barry, I'm clinically tested medical intuitive. Guillerme, I have dreams about the future. Amber, I prefer peeing outside in the moonlight in the free and breezy air. Oh, who doesn't? Who doesn't? And do we have time for one more? Uncle Dale. I engineer. When my desires conflict with reality, I don't adapt to reality like good people. I make things that adapt reality to my desires. Awesome, Uncle Dale. Absolutely awesome. Thank you to everybody in the Thought of the Dave. We really do appreciate it. Thank you to Shirky Poo for the news. John Hudson with the Unbiased UFO Report. Our man Swamp Dweller for another spooky story. And, of course, our guest tonight, Olav Phillips, talking UFOs. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Revolution Radio, Spreaker, Facebook, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us. Because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we got room for them too. Good night.
At Enterprise, we know the time is coming for us to get out and go again. To visit all the places we didn't know meant so much. But we're all still going at our own speed. With Enterprise, you get the peace of mind of our complete clean pledge, curbside rentals, and low-touch transactions. As more and more people hit the road, we're going the extra mile to help. Connecting you to all the places you love. Enterprise.
Streaming on Peacock. It's the girls' trip of a lifetime.
Look at this water. We're gonna give them something to talk about.
7 iconic housewives from 4 different cities.
Oh my God, this thing right.
Vacation at Turks and Caicos.
The party now.
And there's no party like a housewives party.
I don't give a You're not a girl's girl. Why would you say that?
Find out what happens when the forecast brings sunshine and a whole lot of shade.
You are so self-absorbed. It's crazy.
The Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip. All episodes streaming now. Only on Peacock.